Education responded to the scene. The injured were rushed to Molo Sub-County Hospital. The National Police Service is appealing to all motorists to exercise extreme caution on the roads to prevent road crashes. This is a developing story. We're following up on it while we're bringing you the very latest in a subsequent news bulletin. Tomatoes Education and all KCSE examiners and markers will receive their dues. Education PS Bailey Kipsang also told public school heads that capitation for the first term had been released and will be in their accounts by Wednesday tomorrow.
We want to assure our schools, assure our head teachers, assure our principals that yes, we have released capitations. The resources that you are required to receive, we have released that resource. If it's not in your accounts today, it is a process. It could be in the accounts of schools today, tomorrow, the slowest banks maybe on Wednesday.
TSC CEO Nancy Mashari on her part said that the Commission will promote 36,000 teachers.
In the next financial year, Waziri, the TSC has requested for funds for an additional 20,000 teachers to try and close this gap. The Commission, in recognition of the good work that our teachers do, has been funded and is in the process of promoting 36,505 teachers to the different grades, right from grade C2 to D5.
Now, a total of 494,317 KCSE candidates scored a mean of D+ and below in the just released results. Now, Education CS Ezekiel Mushogu said the number of Ds and Es in the 2023 exams has increased as compared to 489,081 in 2022.
As the Cabinet Secretary, I'm also pained by the fact that a large number of candidates, 48,174 or 5.33%, still ended up scoring a mean grade of E in the year 2023 KCSE examination, even after the Ministry used a more flexible system of computing the final overall candidate research. I therefore direct the Directorate of Quality Assurance to work with the field officers and teachers to investigate these E-grade cases in each county of the country and submit a report to me within 1 month.
The CS added that more than 3,000 students who registered to sit for the 2023 national exams failed to do so due to unknown reasons.
I'm concerned with the number that failed to sit the examination, as it could point to a situation where some schools could be inflating the figures of registered candidates to meet the minimum threshold of 30 candidates required to be enlisted at an examination center. Although there could be more reasons for the missing candidates, any misrepresentation of figures could imply a wastage of public funds in the government-based examination fees for candidates based on the data submitted by schools. I therefore direct the relevant Directorate of Quality Assurance to work with the Kenya National Examination Council to investigate the 3,685 candidates who failed to sit the 2023 KCSE examination.
Now, despite the Kenya National Examination Council failing to list the best students and the best schools, our research here at Standard Group has now revealed the schools that recorded the best results. Now, among the schools that excelled is Moi High School, Kabarak, where 62 candidates got an A plane. Considering the number of A planes, Kabarak was followed by Alliance Boys High School, who got 54 candidates getting an A plane. Other schools that recorded the highest number of A's include Kapsabet, Maranda, Alliance Girls, Kenya High, Maseno, Mangu, Kanga, Friends School Kamusinga, Pangani Girls, Baricho High, Kisii High School, Meru School, Loreto, Tenwek, Kabianga High, Moi Forces Academy, Starehe Boys Center, Butula, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and Kagumo High, among others. Likewise, the names of some of the candidates who got high marks have been revealed, including John Mark Olum from Nyambaria High School, Clinton Murimi, Mboroki Shadrach, Francis Mumo, and Danley Kipkoech from Kabarak High School, Camila Chebet from Kenya High School, Ahmed Azaf from Sheikh Khalifa, Eda Joseph from St. Joseph's High School, and Nganga Jacob Onyoike and Chege Kelvin from Nyeri High School. Congratulations to you all. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Revenge is for children. It's for kids. When you grow up, you realize the best revenge you can take on somebody is to ignore them.
Now, I'm just new in politics. It is not everybody's cup of tea. That's why some people come in one term and that's it for them.
Political parties in this country do not have ideologies, whether luring or otherwise.
And that is the effect of corruption.
Any time an offense occurs anywhere in the country, it is the job of the Inspector General to look into it. Whether it is corruption, whether it is murder, whether it is petty, that is his job.
If we have chosen to be a corrupt nation, then we produce corrupt leaders. Everything then becomes chaotic that you cannot be able to change a nation.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in
Ben low, nin inte, nin there, you markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, "No, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat."
Welcome to Tuesday. A little bit of traffic starting to build up here and there. Nothing to shake up about just yet. Haile Selassie, at this time, busy in both directions. In and outbound traffic doing the thing on Haile Selassie, getting out towards Gong Road, coming in from Gong Road this morning. Jogo Road not looking too bad right about now. Land is also starting to build up as you get to the City Stadium roundabout. Let's take a quick peek at the Thika Superhighway. Nothing happening there. You get into the city without an issue this morning. As you're coming off Gong Road, you're doing all right. Coming out of Westlands, Wayaki Way, James Gishuru, everybody either still waking up or having got up really early. So we're not having a problem here either. Northern Bypass, it's looking good. Coming off Limuru Road, Muthaiga, all this area is fine for now. So Nairobi waking up just in the middle of the cities where we see movement. Let's take a look in about half hour and see how Tuesday pans out. We'll talk SpiceFM, KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Mombasa, it's Tuesday. It's the 9th day of January 2024. Mambo vipi?
Poa sana.
Umemka sawa?
It seems like it was a while ago, but yeah. Yep.
When you did wake up.
When I woke up well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. City, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mambo iko fresh?
Kabisa.
Okay.
Fresh like morning wine.
Like that?
Yeah.
Fresh like morning wine. What is
Morning wine.
Yeah.
You know that song that Flavor sang? Yeah? So when you tap palm wine, the freshest flavor.
Flavor.
Yes, go on.
Big artist.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the best
What, from Kenya?
No, from Nigeria. No. The champion, the lion is here.
Oh, that flavor.
Thank you very much.
Ah. Why did you just say so?
So
Had you said the champion, I would have understood.
he sang some other songs as well, City.
Yeah, no, okay, but that one, yes.
That one you like it, Abby.
It's a very good song.
The best palm wine is the wine that's tapped before sunrise. Okay? So it by the time you're tapping palm wine, it has fermented in the pod. You don't tap it when the juices have just started to flow. So they can tell from the way
it ferments in the pod.
They can tell when it has started to drip into the pod. But then they leave it for a couple of days. Then the palm wine tapper will climb the palm tree and now tap the pod, and then it releases into the
kibuyu,
whatever it is they're using to collect. However, the freshest of palm wine is the one that's tapped before sunrise. So when somebody tells you fresh like morning wine, you're doing all right, man.
And it's once it's tapped, you just drink it like that.
No, you keep it. You want to drink it
You
later.
keep it so that it sort of like does a thing, dog.
So you take it when it's fresh.
I know.
You
But you
take
don't
it
drink it in
later.
the trees. You bring it down and then
Yeah, and then you drink.
that day. Yes, that day.
You know, if you drink it
From
in the
that
tree,
morning.
chief,
From that morning, yes.
disaster can happen. You start drinking that thing in the tree.
It will come down as it ferments.
As you ferment.
And by the time you land, you'll be cooked.
Okay. Everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Situation Room. Thank you very much for those who are already logged on YouTube and Facebook. People who are tuned in on SpiceFM. Karibu sana. Today, being Tuesday, we're going to have several conversations. One of them is around Masai Mara National Reserve. No, it's not. It's a game reserve.
Game reserve.
So Masai Mara is managed by the county government of Narok. The county government of Narok has been collecting levies from Masai Mara for very many years. From the people who go in there and from the establishments that operate from within there. Mara, are we together so far?
Yes, please.
Now, where does that money go? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. That thing is vast, including the game reserve itself, plus in the conservancies surrounding them. Because not all, the conservancies are quite many.
There are very many.
Yeah. And all of these establishments that operate around the conservancies also pay levies to the county. It's a lot of money.
Which means Narok County has a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It's rich. Now, people are saying all that money that's been coming, now county government of Narok is mulling increasing the rates. Unajua, animals have become more expensive. Cost
The
of
grass
living.
that they
Cost
eat.
of living.
Cost of living in the park
Tax the grass.
is high. So they're saying, all right, so how about we increase the fee that, people pay for getting in here in tandem with what KWS has done anyway, Yeah, now the senator for Narok County, Ledama Olekina, is not happy. He's like, hey. So he'll be coming here at 7. We'll talk about what has that money been doing for all those years. Even when Narok was the Narok County Council and it was making all that money, what would it do with it? Okay? As a senator, he has an oversight role on the county. He'll come and talk to us about that. 7 a.m., that's the conversation. 8 o'clock, let's look at the 2024 in advance. This is a year that by June we should pay interest plus principal for Eurobond 1.
Yeah.
$2 billion plus interest.
Yeah.
Tumalizana nayo June.
Yeah.
We are paying SGR. There was a story in the papers yesterday that because of the shilling doing what the shilling has been doing, SGR payments are up by 14%. We are paying one payment this month, the next payment in June. We pay it twice a year.
Plus 14 billion shillings.
14B extra just because of your Kashilling doing its Kashilling thing. Okay? Plus other debts that we have to keep paying. Plus the government raising revenues to finance its taxes. Plus there's a story in the papers today about government not being able to raise the revenue it has been raising. The man who's been talking about money and government and debt and all, Jimmy Wenjeke, will be joining us at 8 a.m. to have this conversation. So now, Jimmy, you told us that, if these guys, they'll raid our M-Pesa pocket. For the first question, I was asking, boss.
Which pocket?
Which pocket? 8 a.m., Jimmy Wenjeke joins us. Keep it here for those conversations. See, we are like that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Ednah has done like that. We are live streaming. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on SpiceFM across the country. If you're tuned in and you're able to log on online, just go online and tell us where you're tuned in from. Say hello. We'll be saying hello to you shortly after the weather forecasts.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
16 degrees and partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's cloudy at 16 in Nakuru with highs of 25 and lows of 16. And Nyeri, cloudy at 15, will go to highs of 24. Partly cloudy at 14 in Eldoret, highs of 24. And looking into a partly cloudy Mombasa at 26, we'll see highs of 32. 32 will also be the high, and mostly cloudy Malindi at 26. In Kisumu this morning, it's partly cloudy at 21 with highs of 27 and lows of 20, while Kakamega is partly cloudy at 19. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 18. Kampala is cloudy at 21 with highs of 28, while Dar es Salaam will go to highs of 31. It's mostly cloudy at 27. Johannesburg, light rain this morning at 16 with highs of 24 and coming down to lows of 16. Mogadishu already partly sunny at 23 with highs of 32. It's 12 degrees and partly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 22 and lows of 9. Lagos, clear at 26 with highs of 33, while Kinshasa is cloudy at 25. We'll see highs of 32. Beijing, Monday afternoon, 3 degrees and cloudy, highs of 4 and lows of -8. It's -2 and snowing in Paris this morning with highs of 0, lows of -2. And looking into London, 3 degrees and cloudy, highs of 4 and lows of 1. While there's flooding predicted for New York, Monday night is 3 degrees and clear. Coming into Tuesday, highs of 7 and lows of 1.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Hey, everybody online this morning. Let's start. Loyal listener, engineer Frank Mainga Nyangao, tuning from Siaya this morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us this morning and starting off great. Karibu.
Karibu sana.
Hilary Mwasen. Hey, I'm sorry if I have destroyed your name. Hilary Mwarsenali is tuned in this morning. Tuning from Seattle. Second out Peters. Aimba Olo says tuning from Nairobi, and Destiny's tuned in from UAE. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Happy New Year. Niliwami Sana says R, the one who goes by one initial R. We see you. Don Sabwa says, good morning, CT, Eric, Ndu, Ednah, and Diego. Good morning to you. Don says, good morning. And says, KCPE results again mutate. So these were not KCPE results. They were KCSE results. All right. Apparently, Don now has left us, because he says there's a word in Malawi for KCPE. He says it's called Zotsatira. That's KCPE.
Okay.
In Malawi.
You know, Don makes
it's called what?
Zotsatira. Zotsatira.
Okay. Transliterate it.
KCPE.
No. So K is what? Zot. And P is what? Sa. And E is Sira.
T. E is T.
Then is it KCPE or is it results?
Kindly
or is it
say
exam?
KCP. In Malawi, okay, you're right. In Malawi, we say results. Zotsatira. All right.
Zotsatira is results.
Yeah.
Or it's not exam, it's results. Okay.
Don, I take back what I've just said. If it results, then it could very well be.
Sawa.
Zotatsira.
Results.
As a result of.
As a result of reading the statement again.
As a result of.
Afro-Jamaican says, good morning. Tuned in One Love Jamaica from Toronto. Linus Rainman says, Happy New Year, everybody locked in from Munchen. And Sabit Yusuf says, good morning, Ednah, Yego, Ndu, CT, Eric from Dubai. Desmond Ortiz says, good morning, Spice. The proverb from my grandma, an orphan only eats in the full of his stomach on the day of his mother's burial. An orphan only eats to the full of his stomach on the day of his mother's burial.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thereafter, that's issues.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Sabit Yusuf says, good morning. Wishing you a great year ahead. Carol Nyambura says, Nawapenda sana. Happy New Year, Spice family. Glad to be back. Salimia Ednah says, David Weeds. Ednah Umi Salimiwa. Salimika. Say yes. Yes. Chris Adede says, good morning, Eric Ndusiti. I'm tuned in from Utawala, listening to my favorite radio station and breakfast show, Santi Sana. Good morning from Kimana, Shiro.
Shiro.
Sheerow.
Shiro.
Says, it's been empty with you guys. Gone. Welcome back. About some deep emotion this morning.
Wazi Shiro.
Azaria is not happy this morning. And says, good morning. Still no funds, as the CS said. What a sad life. These are lies.
What?
Azaria goes on. Shall we continue?
What lies?
Angry this morning. He says, as Kissy, we disown... Okay, now he's moved on. He's
moved on now.
CS story gone.
Okay.
Still no school for money for schools. He's moved to Osoro and says, as Kissy, we disown Osoro for acting stupid, shooting innocent citizens at the Kissy government's peaceful meeting. Lowest arrogance, he says. That was not right. James Gakeo says, Happy New Year and a very good morning, Team Spice. Happy New Year to my wonderful people. Mingi greetings from the beautiful hills of Saboti in Trans Nzoia. That's Angor. The 2000 says, Salimia Jimmy. Okay, Salimia Kikuja. Robert Boga says, good morning, tuning from Mombasa. Karanja Njehia says, good morning, tuning from Nanyuki. Sam Lidanya is tuned in and says, God's blessings from Mazeras. Vancouver in British Columbia is where Wanja Munaita is tuned in today. John Shege says he's, good morning. He has announced himself and he's tuned in from Solai. Woodnam Aneni. Toti Bishop says that, and in English it is?
The son of the sea, the lake. I see you.
Aneni is I see you.
Nakuru, the son of Nam is lake.
Oh, okay. Patrick Muga is watching and says, good morning. We are already in the haircuts era. Chief and housing levy are at it. Okay.
They're cutting haircuts. What Jimmy Wanjego was saying.
Oh, voila. Okay. That's where we are.
Okay.
Kenneth Bushnell is tuning from Fangano Islands. Many people online this morning. George Biketi is also here. Everybody, karibuni sana. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Safi, Kakasiti.
Yes.
Medhali ya siku.
Yes. We are still in the country of Kenya. East African coast. Proverb ya leo ya methali. Right. Adui aangukapo muinue.
Adui aangukapo muinue. Translate.
Adui.
Wait.
Adui.
Wait, adui sin, harm. Adui curse. Enemy. See, I knew it.
Anguka.
Fall down.
So, adui angukapo.
If your enemy falls,
muinue.
Lift him up.
Voila.
Sheesh.
Well done.
Thank you. Adui. Why did I think Adui was sin? I knew it had to be something bad.
It has to be something bad.
Yeah, this is as
sin and enemy are the same thing.
Yes, as of this lift him up as opposed to stepping on his head. Okay? Pana kanyage shingo. Sema pole. Please get up. Like that.
Na usirudie tena.
I like that.
Na usirudie tena sasa hii shauri yako.
Nani asirudie? Sasa yeye asianguke tena.
Na asizoe kuanguka ovyo.
Kazi yako si kuinua
watu zote.
Headlines.
On the front page of the Standard, Kabarak leads in number of A's, Alliance second. This year's KCSE results are different in many aspects. Final grade was arrived at using a new grading system. Remember the Presidential Working Party on education reforms? Learners improved in maths. The number of underage went up by 4,000. Oh. Okay, so we'll look at those numbers.
All right.
So it's exams through and through for a number of column inches in the Standard today. We also saw the announcement yesterday that the CS said that those who wanted to resit the exam, they talked about that happening in January. They said, look, don't worry about it. You're going to go to Form 1 anyway. Go to Form 1, and then at a time that is convenient for everybody, you can now sit the exam. So do with that information what you'd like.
Wait, no. I thought we've done away with it.
With what?
With what?
KCSE.
Yeah.
But
No, this is KCPE. Sorry, I've gone back. At the announcements of the results of KCSE yesterday, CS Mashogu said, by the way, remember last year when we were announcing the results for KCPE, and we said that there are going to be some resits because there were things happening in the country.
Yeah.
Conflict here, people were sick, that. You were not happy with your results. And they said that we will do a resit in January. And people were nervous. So now resit, what happens? Do we go to school? Can we? He said, don't worry.
Do we wait? Do we lose out on term 1?
He said, go to school. Go
After
to Form
all.
1. After all, it's 100% transition.
Yeah.
Okay? And then now, don't worry. We'll figure it out as we go. That's what he basically
This
said
one
yesterday.
I will need to see.
You'll need to see what?
This thing that is being said.
This exam reset.
It can't be a wait and see. What's the plan?
No, he said at a time that is convenient for everybody.
No. What's the plan? The reset, the exam. There was a problem. Has the problem been set right? When you say people are going to reset, what exactly will it entail?
So the thing is, those who are going to reset or even sit because they missed the day for whatever reason, illness, conflict, etc., are being. So there's a myriad of different issues as to why there has to be a
But the reset is one thing.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you fell on your head, it rained.
They will sit a qualifying exam in Form 3.
Or they're not going to do their thing. Yeah. It'll be later. It'll be much later. But
that's a plan.
Yeah, but the fear of now, don't go to Form 1 because we've not done KCPE or whatever. No. He's dispelled that and said, go to school. We'll deal with this later.
Right. I'm still going to wait to see whether, first of all, this 100% transition
will be 100%.
Let's start there, and then we'll go on and see.
Okay.
There will be many questions. Okay.
It's true. So for a number of pages in the Standard today, it's looking at education and what happens as a result of the KCSE. We'll look into details of that later. On the front page of The Nation, Kabarak tops KCSE. Moi High School Kabarak walks away with this year's bragging rights in a list dominated by public, national, extra county schools, according to results compiled. The Kenya High had the best mean score by a girls' school, as some academic giants were shoved aside by newcomers. I'm going to go through that list real quick. Top schools nationally: Kabarak High School with a mean of 10.43, Mudasa Academy Vihiga with a score of 10.4, Kapsabet Boys High School 10.2, Light Academy Mombasa 10.2, Kenya High School 9.9, Chamelel Sugar Academy 9.8, Kisima Mixed Secondary School 9.8, Kiage Tumaini Boys 9.7, Maranda 9.5, St. Bridget's Girls Kiminini 9.5, and Lelwak Boys 9.5. Those are the top 10 in the country.
This is according to The Nation.
According to the compilation of The Nation, all right? It'll be interesting to see what the ministry says and if it's far off from here. National schools hog the top grades to extend a rich history of excellence. It's another headline that we're looking at there.
The government has been moving away from ranking students and schools.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But the public has refused to move from
Public
this.
wants
In fact,
rankings.
led by the media. Look, Kabarak tops KCSE.
Just
Kabarak leads.
Just look
Alliance
at the pages
second.
that have been dedicated to this.
Yeah, that's why I said there's no other headline. We're going well into page 7,
it's all
8.
about which school is better than the other.
The other.
And you're finding it so much work trying to look for this. So Nation has this. They're saying even by the time of going to press, Kabarak was leading.
Yeah.
It's like
it's an election.
What are you talking about?
It is.
It is, isn't it? But this is the thing.
All the results are out.
The results are out. What are you leading? It's
So
out.
when
Yeah.
they rate Kabarak tops KCSE, tops in what?
In KCSE.
In A's.
Standard says they top in A's. Kabarak says they top in mean score. Then they bring other mean scores of Elwak boys at 9.56, and then you'll find. So we also did not find some schools. For example, if you look at all this list of the Nation, these top schools, they have Kabarak, Mudasa, Kapsabet, Light Academy. They don't have Kina Alliances and the others.
That's why they've used that headline. Remember the headline they said there?
Yeah.
The sub says what? They've edged out. The list is dominated by public national schools and extra county schools. And they've edged out what would be the normal that people thought.
This is according to this Nation.
Again,
but then
according to the Nation.
Standard says Kabarak is tops, Alliance is second.
We don't see that on the Nation.
Kapsabet boys is third.
Look at this, and here, look at what you're saying. Look at the pressure that we're looking at now that comes as a result of this.
Yeah.
And then imagine what's going to happen when those parents, for some reason, who've not chosen a school, now sees these lists. Everybody now, those are the schools, let's start running. You see, that public perception, I think we contribute to that quite some.
But remember,
remember
the people who are reporting these were products of this system.
Of course. You say what you know.
And you talk about education, that's how they understand it.
That's what you know.
Okay, so you say all you like, D this, D the other, D the other.
That's your problem.
You just keep saying it.
Which are the top 10
So
schools?
They are going to tell you who got A's, how many A's were there, how many A's, those who qualified. That ranking thing is not going to leave the head because the government has said it is not there.
Very difficult. It's going to be
that is the one order the government is going to find has been ignored.
Sure. So should the government continue just ranking these schools?
How are you going? We're talking out of both sides of the mouth here. Because remember what the Working Party said, that towards the end of 2024, we're looking at now the decategorization of schools.
Yes.
Can you really have decategorization of schools when we're still rank heavy? In the mind, you can decategorize as much as you want, but in the psyche of people, it is going to be there.
This decategorization is a mental game because
it is.
The discussion, if you ask me about education, something we've said here on many occasions, how do you ensure that any school that is in this country gives that child an equal opportunity, sets an even playing field with everybody? That is the discussion. So that it doesn't matter where you go to school, you will have the same guarantee as others. Yes.
Yep.
Now, so by virtue of the disparity that we have in education, you tell me, where does the classification come in? What exactly then are you doing? When you declassify, what have you done?
Nothing.
Already the schools that are disadvantaged in terms of the materials and whatever it is, the wherewithal they need to provide the education, they're already disadvantaged. So you've already classified them. So you can utter the words declassification, but they're classified.
They are.
Then what do you do?
I think they should just continue just ranking these schools, because even if you declassify the schools, right, there is a mean score per school.
There has to be a mean score.
So because there's a mean score per school and that's what you're looking for, then just say, so the one that had the highest mean score is this school, and then the one that had the second highest mean score. So we know the top 100 schools in terms of mean score this year were this and the other. So schools also continue competing amongst themselves at whatever level they are at.
That's true. Even when you do have societies where schools have been completely declassified or decategorized, and it doesn't matter where you go to school, that the same is recognized across board. There's still competition. There's still a benchmark against which folks operate. There has to be. That's why you have top 10 or top 100 schools.
So let's continue just grading schools and let the Ministry of Education resume to telling us the top 100 schools or all the schools like that. Just go ahead.
Let's just try and make sure that infrastructure exists in schools. That's the thing.
Anyway, let's take a break first. You tell us about traffic and then we'll continue the other headlines.
No, hala.
Yeah? It's 25 to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Not just yet. A few minutes past 6:30, and we're still looking at an okay situation coming off Limuru Road. A little bit of it on Haile Selassie, still causing a pin in the shoulders for real. Still pretty busy there. Looking at some movement coming off of Ring Road in Ngara and coming off of the Thika Superhighway. Not too heavy right about now, but at the Pangani Tunnel, it is busy. Like we said, Haile Selassie doing its thing there as you're trying to get into the city, and it looks like it's going to be there for some time. Jogo Road already busy as a beehive right now. Gong Road is also starting to pick up as we get into the city. Eye on things. Let's see what happens as we get in traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X. Let's talk and keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Back page of the nation, as if it was not important. Treasury borrowing up by 168 billion shillings. Let that number reside in your head for a moment. Treasury borrowing up by 168 billion on low tax netted. Yeah. Anti-graft agency, and in the name of the EACC, is urging members of parliament to reject the bill on procurement offences. Remember that bill? Yeah. Embedded North MP Jeffrey Ruko still very much in the front lines of that. EACC saying you guys gotta shoot this thing down, man. Yeah.
Wakwende huko.
Nani?
Wote.
Okay.
The Business Daily. Cash-rich firms reap bumper gains from rising interest rates. Apparently, those cash-rich listed firms are set for higher finance income in the near term due to elevated interest rates on offer on fixed deposits and government paper, potentially boosting their bottom line. There are companies that are loaded with cash, not just assets, cash. Some of these companies with significant cash and cash equivalent holdings as per respective latest financial filings include Total Energies Marketing Kenya, which has 13.2 billion shillings pesa taslim, cash.
How do they know this?
Yeah, from their release results. Okay, this is basically an analysis by the Business Daily from their latest financial filings. Total Energies has cash and cash equivalent 13.28 billion shillings, Liberty Holdings 10.87 billion, WPP Scan Group 3.47 billion, Nation Media Group 3.7 billion, Bamburi Cement 3.85 billion. All right, so just assuming that these guys are just buying government paper with this cash. All right? Government paper is now going at 16%. Imagine. Pesa tu shilingi inamulikwa na ingine. State funding pressure as over 200,000 score varsity grades. The number of candidates who've met the minimum university entry qualification in last year's KCSE has for the first time in the history of the Republic crossed 200,000. That means you need more money to fund university education. Yeah. Treasury raises borrowing target by 168 billion. That's the same headline in the back page of the Standard of the Nation. Oryx Energies dropped from fuel import deal. You know, in that G2G, there are three companies that do what? That do the transportation of the mafuta into the country. One of them is Oryx. The other one is Galana Oil. The other one is Gulf Energy. Now, Oryx has been dropped by Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco said, you know what? We are going to use another company to bring mafuta into the country, and not Oryx. Oryx had run into some headwinds with the industry at some point when they brought in the mafuta for August, and they wanted to charge it at the price for July. And the industry was like, wait, bwana. So it's not clear whether that is as a result of that fallout, or there were other factors that led to Aramco to decide who else it's going to be dealing with. NSE best and worst performing stocks of 2023 are listed as well in the Business Daily City. What's in the Star? Headlines.
I didn't get the Star today.
Oh, you didn't?
It just wasn't available.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk KCSE
I was waiting
then.
for but. Okay.
Yes, but.
Here's the Nairobian.
He's looking
for
the
it.
East African.
Yeah, here's the East African.
I have the East African. Yes, the African from the East. I am with him here.
Tuambie.
why Uganda-Kenya fallout may not last.
Okay.
They're important trading partners in spite of spats, and their divorce would impact intra-East African community trade. Besides, Kampala's options may prove to be more expensive. This is a story on page 7, listing and talking at great length about the wars that we have. The two neighbors cannot divorce, as data shows that they are important trading partners. So much as we are having some tough conversations with our neighbor, the supposed discussion around a divorce doesn't seem to be in the offing, and at least not soon, because the trading still continues. It's not as though people are saying we have problems and we have stopped trading with Uganda. Our biggest trading partner in this region
is Uganda.
So that, yes, it is Uganda. And some of the problems that have arisen, I'm sure they can be resolved if those who are in a position to resolve them determine to resolve them. If they determine not to, then of course we will also know, won't we? Yeah, because the authorities who are in the know and who are concerned, I'm sure, understand why it is that problem arose in the first place, and they can go into the details of seeing how best they can solve it. But this is not the first time we've had this discussion, sir. No. It's like with every new government, there's always a discussion about some disparity and a problem we have with our neighbor.
Yep.
When President Uhuru was president, we had similar problems. Okay? When it came to the things that which were being imported, what was happening, some of them going this way as opposed to going that way, and so forth and so forth. However, remember there was an election in this country called DRC.
Indeed.
The election was concluded.
Yes, it was.
After it was concluded, voila, as Ndu would say, the immediate outgoing president became the immediate incoming president. But amidst a lot of complaints, a lot of who and a lot of ha. Okay? Yes. And the who and ha isn't going to die out soon.
No.
So, yes, Mr. Tshisekedi.
Well done.
Yes. See, I've got it now. Yes. That one takes a bit of tongue involvement for you to actually get it right. Tshisekedi. Anyway, let's wait and see how things roll out.
Yeah.
Okay? Then, something also interesting happened. We have a neighbor called Sudan. Not Southern Sudan, Sudan. Khartoum, Sudan.
Yes.
Okay? There is a guy called Daglo. Daglo is a guy who happens to be one of the people in Sudan who have an issue with who should be president. He also thinks he can be president. And plus, yes, he thinks he can be president. So he has a faction that supports him. And he visited Kenya. Come to say hello. He's doing an intra-Africa visit saying, this is what, this is how.
Tour.
Now, as a result of his visiting Kenya, Sudan recalled the envoy. And it is being reported in the East African that it was because of that particular visit. The matters in Sudan were dramatic, traumatic, and it kept escalating. It is not good. People who are allies now seeming not to see eye to eye. Yes, and by his visit, it means we accepted that he would visit. We seem to walk into these controversies.
But the other guy had also visited.
Yes, but Daglo doesn't have an envoy. Understand?
It's okay, but he's a warring party, and IGAD is dealing with those two, acknowledging that these two are the factions that are at war.
Yes.
IGAD and President William Ruto has been leading this conversation.
Yes.
He's looking at these two people.
Yes.
So if he has met, what's the other guy called? Burhan.
Yes.
If he has met Burhan, why can't he meet
Daglo? Yes. They have recalled their envoy, okay? Despite everything you've just said. Okay.
Touche. Okay. Okay. So KCSE results announced yesterday. Everybody up and about in terms of what's going to happen. I want to look at one thing, though it's not directly a KCSE story. It's kind of like what we were alluding to earlier. Questions are arising as 2,000 students are set to join Form 1 without having sat KCPE. Now, the 100% transition comes as a result of sitting KCPE. So people are asking, but they've not sat. How can you say transition having not sat the exam that essentially allows you to what? To transition. The government is in a spot over plans to allow 2,000 learners who did not sit the KCPE exam to join Form 1. As we know, Form 1 opens up for the year on the 15th of January.
Okay.
Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu made the announcement yesterday during the release of the Form 4 national exam. Education stakeholders, however, termed the move a serious breach of policy, even as Mashogu says the learners will sit a qualifying exam in Form 3. During the release at the 2023 KCPE results, Mashogu said some 9,000 learners did not sit the exam and noted that they would be given supplementary tests in January.
Okay.
Clearly, that's not happening. But yesterday, he said only 2,000 had been traced. We can't find these 9,000. We can only find 2,000 of them. And noted that they would be allowed to join Form 1 starting January 8th, okay, across private, public.
Okay.
The statement raised questions in the criteria of administration. According to the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers chairperson, Okoh Milemba, the CS has got it wrong because education is governed by policy, which dictates that a learner requires a slip of their Standard 8 results.
Okay.
This means he has broken his own policy completely.
Okay.
Okay, so you have a policy, you've gone against it by saying that some people can come to school without having done the exam.
Okay.
Usawa Agency Araja Agenda Executive Director Emmanuel Manyasa said the decision will cause confusion among learners.
Okay.
Because then on what basis are you in Form 1 if you have not done an exam?
Okay.
Now, Manyasa also said, which exams will these students be studying for once they join Form 1?
Exams.
Which exam again?
Okay.
I understand the frustration. That's not me now. This is Manyasa.
This is Emmanuel.
Of not sitting the exam, given that it was the last KCPE. They should be examined before they join secondary school. We need to examine them. If not, they can't join secondary school. That's what Manyasa said.
That's somebody who said whose background is sitting for exams and passing them speaking.
Go on.
Yes.
I continue.
Yes.
He said the breach of policy could open a Pandora's box. Now, Pandora and her box, which, what we see inside, people who could not, he said, which could see people who did not sit KCPE or dropped out appealing to be allowed to join Form 1. That's the Pandora's box.
Okay.
Initially, Mashogu had promised that the ministry would conduct a thorough mapping of any of these who may have failed to sit their examinations this year to order and administer a special exam in January. That's what he had initially said. Now, we don't know if this was a whim, top of his head kind of thing. We don't know. The move was to ensure no pupil in the 2023 cohort misses Form 1 admission, particularly after the phasing out of the 844 system. You get why he did that, right?
Okay, go on.
The 2023 candidates were the last to sit. However, Mashogu said, upon further audit, out of the 9,354 students who failed to sit the 2023 exam, they could only find 2,000.
Okay.
Okay? Now, speaking during the release in Eldoret yesterday, he said the affected students will have to sit an exam by the time they're in Form 3. You know, not now, later on.
Okay.
To enable them to be registered for the KCSE. Obviously, what you're trying to say here is that in order for you to sit KCSE,
you need to have
an exam
KCPE
result from KCPE.
Right.
So to ensure that that is the case, somewhere in Form 3, you sit an exam which is equal to that.
Okay. To just give you the certificate of KCPE.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, since the number so far located is small to warrant a national examination, you get it now? Small number, we can't now do all of this thing.
2,000
exam
only.
centers, invigilators, markers, etc., etc.
And they are spread across the country.
Across the country. We're not going to start looking for 3 of you here, 1 here. We're not going to do that. So we've decided that the 2,000 candidates, just go ahead. The ones that we've been able to find, go ahead and join Form 1. Okay?
You know what?
And you'll be allowed to sit the qualifying exam later. Coupets.
I'd be keen to hear what Emmanuel and Okoh Milemba are saying. So they should not join Form 1. So what should happen?
They should not join Form 1 without this exam. Because
Form 1 begins next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why are they so fixated on this particular exam?
Because
listen, are they all in agreement that there's 100% transition as a policy of government?
So that means you
that
could have
going
even
from
gotten
Standard 8 to Form 1 is the same as going from Standard 7 to Standard 8.
You could have gotten 10 in KCPE,
you would
but
still
you
have
still
gone
go to Form
1.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So the confusion here, if they were saying, we don't know then what school to send them to, you can just say, send them to the next sub-county school. Fine?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
If if the issue is in knowing what school to take them to, whether you're into national, extra county, county, sub-county, just say, all right, so can we all agree that they go to a county or a sub-county or national? You have that conversation. But you cannot be saying, oh, you're breaching your own policy. Oh,
That's what they say.
I mean,
you see that where
just
your thought
splitting hairs here.
Yeah, your thought has gone really far. For them, they are stuck on this thing. They're not going to think outside the box. They're not going to think beyond these lines. It is a policy that has been created by you, the Ministry of Education. By making this suggestion, you are going against your own policy.
It's okay.
That is what their issue is.
Okay.
For a very long time, we have never heard of a case where after Standard 8 results are out, children are then looked for and told go back to school and sit an exam.
Nope.
Or go back and register for next year's exam.
First time.
It has not happened.
This is the first time.
This is the first time. And it's peculiar and unique because this is the final KCPE. So there's not going to be another Standard 8 next year.
No.
For you to come back at you go ingia Standard 8 tena ufanye mwaka ingine. So these kids need to move. What's
wasting time
now? What if they were still going to go to Form 1?
Especially
regardless
because
of the grade they get in KCPE.
That is it. Especially because the same ministry, not the Ministry of Energy, the same Ministry of Education has talked about 100% transition. There's something about that. That means you could have gone to the exam hall and written your name, Eric Latiff, and walked out
and gotten zero.
And
you'd
but
still
you
have
still
gone
go to Form 1.
You know why it's confusing for people who didn't go through a system like this one? Is even before you start an exam, if you didn't do well in Standard 4, you would not necessarily go to Standard 5.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It was a thinking. Now, the exam was just, should we say, appointed position where if you didn't pass, because there was something to pass, but all along, you either passed or didn't pass. But this one now, they made it national. So it's not just a school exam. It's the thinking behind it.
Exactly.
So the thinking is where the problem is. The transition story, one understands.
I get it.
No, I actually get it very
clearly.
clearly.
It all ties into what we're talking about before, about the decategorization and this mindset. There must be an exam because it is the exam that tells whether you really actually learned or not.
Yes.
And it's a pushback against this whole holistic kind of learning, whereby now your learning and its outcomes are not pegged to an exam, but it's pegged to all that you've done now over years. And people want to fight that. People are not understanding what projects.
How do you come to Form 1 and you've not done?
How do you come to Form 1 and you've not done an exam? Oh.
By the way, this isn't new. And the discussion is good. Because every time there's been a change in the education system, for instance, when online learning came, do you know how that thing was fought?
Proper.
What? You didn't go to class?
There's no teacher.
So then how did you study? Huh? They were classmates. No. The teacher, you saw them on TV. No. Anytime you have something that is new, it is met with resistance. You see, and often the resistance is based on what you already know. You're fighting from the position of, I have this knowledge and I have this position, and this, what I'm hearing is interfering with it. Instead of asking, okay, fine, I understand it's new. What really is it about?
Indeed.
Because if we are going to examine you, if we're going to test you, if we're going to determine your knowledge, capacity, and understanding at a later stage, that is not a bad thing. We still don't use the word test, but we're going to examine you. But we're still testing you anyway.
Assess you.
Assessing is testing.
It is.
Now, it also raises another issue, though, that there were 9,000 registered KCPE candidates who did not sit
300,
the exam, and the government has only been able to trace
2,000.
It's like you're looking for cows and sheep and they're marked. They're not marked.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have a branding, so you actually don't know. These are human beings.
They should stop it.
These are human beings who must have been in a certain school with adults.
How can you not
as
know?
teachers and bosses of the
They are
school.
known.
You knew that there were 9,300. That means you knew also that they were each and every one of them was connected to a NEMIS number. If they had a NEMIS number, you knew their name, their parents, their everything. You knew where they lived.
Yeah.
Because that's what NEMIS requires of you.
Yeah.
Or are you telling us?
Or ghosts.
Yes.
That ties into this other story. Yesterday, This same ministers talked about some 3,000 students who registered for KCSE but failed to sit KCSE. And he said, wait a minute, are teachers actually inflating these numbers for whatever reason? First of all, to be categorized as an exam center, you need to have at least 30 candidates. So you know you don't have 30. So you put some fictitious names
160.
to hit 30. So that you can be categorized as an exam center. So are these the same games that are being played at primary level for whatever reason? For capitation purposes. For capitation purposes, you find that officials in the education sector, from the ministry all the way to the head teacher, are actually creating ghost students. If he talked about it, and you talked about it, I need the sheer result, and he said that he wants a report within a month.
Oh God,
that's gone.
I beg.
Forget it.
It's not gonna happen.
Some nonsensical stuff that's said by these government officials all the time. You cannot say, oh, you know, we were looking for 9,000 children. We only found 2,000. You missed.
What are you doing?
You've lost 7,000 children.
You've lost 7,300 children. Do they not have parents? Do they live in the bush in a tree? Are you joking?
You know,
we've only been able to trace 2,000.
Remember,
in Kenya,
we have discussed stories of fictitious schools here.
Yeah.
Yani, it's got a name. It doesn't exist.
Imagine.
It exists. No.
It's in Nemis.
It's in Nemis.
Funds are channeled to these
there.
ghost schools with ghost students.
Yeah.
So now it's lost.
And they have bank accounts.
Yes, now. They have bank accounts in the name of the school. This one. In the name of the school.
The kind of crap that we witness in this education ministry, by the way, we talk about mafia house.
This one.
No,
education ministry is another rotten area.
This one taught mafia house.
Completely rotten.
I'm telling you.
So if you look at all those, so 3,000, it's possible. Let's just go with what the minister maybe postulated. It's possible that the 3,000 students who registered for KCSE and didn't sit actually didn't exist in the first place. Let's say that these ones were registered in day secondary schools. There's free day secondary school money that goes here. Billions of shillings. Okay. Allocate 3,000 per child for 4 years. Tell me how much that is. Allocate another 7,000 per child for 8 years of primary school. Tell me how much money that is. That is going to some ghost child from standard 1 all the way
ghost school,
and let's just
to
even
standard
say,
8.
let's just even say that there are only 5,000 of them.
Let's do the math.
Only 5,000. Let's not even go beyond
Times
5,000.
12
times 12
years.
years.
Do the math.
Times 7,000 shillings.
And people are talking about half your house.
Times 12. And this is something that happens.
And this is the ministry that has the lion's share of budgeted money from government. This one.
So when we're shouting here, nobody should come and tell me, oh, take a pity because they are doing nothing. No.
It's crap.
It's nonsense.
The other thing that I'd like to highlight as we get into the top of the hour is, if you look at now, yes, there's an increase. For the first time, we have over 200,000 students making it to university via the pass mark, all right? But also, let's look at those that got D plus and above were 526,000 out of 899,000. Okay? That tells you that about 370,000 students got D and below. It's a high percentage. Over 42% of candidates, of children who sat through from 1, 2, 3, 4 got D, D minus, E.
And according to the system, the way it is, they don't stand a chance of making it. They have no chance of making it to university.
D minus and E, you will not get into TVET.
Into TVET.
Even if you find your way into something, you will never be able to come find your way into a diploma.
What happened to these people?
That's the thing.
And how do we have such a high number?
And how do we ensure that they are given a second opportunity to elevate their position so that they actually are able to move on to whatever next stage they want to move on to? Because the E as it stands, you won't move anywhere.
Yeah. You're condemned.
Oh, no. You're
that certificate, you hold it like this. E.
Well, nobody even looks at you.
Yep.
Nobody looks at you.
Why do we have over 300,000 students, more than those that qualify for university, have gotten E's and D's?
And these are Kenyans?
Yes.
These are children of this nation.
Why?
Who had the same hopes and dreams as the ones who are now going to university.
Yep.
Yes. And why are their plight? Why follow
Spice up your life.
It's news time, 7 a.m.
The news at the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asata. We start the bulletin on a sad note where 15 people have died this morning after 14-seater matatu collided with the bus at Kibunja area along the Nakuru Eldoret highway. All the passengers in the matatu, which was heading to Nairobi, died in the 2:45 a.m. incident. The deceased include 8 adults and 7 children, among them 5 girls and 2 boys. 7 people were seriously injured, with 38 being rushed to hospital with minor injuries. We continue to follow up on this story. We shall be updating you in our subsequent news bulletin. Now, President William Ruto has sustained his attacks on the judiciary, saying he will do whatever it takes to ensure the implementation of the government's flagship project in Eastern Uasin Gishu County. President Ruto questioned the suspension of government projects by the judiciary, suggesting that such actions were aimed at undermining crucial government programs. The president reiterated that his intent to push ahead with critical projects such as affordable housing and the Social Health Insurance Act, which form part of his manifesto. And as parents, teachers and students continue to celebrate the KCSE results, Nyambaria School in Nyeri County posted positive results despite the school being under tight scrutiny during the 2023 KCSE exams and the principal being suspended as a center manager. The school has got 42 A planes, 425 A minus and 56 B plus. Elsewhere, Sunshine Secondary School in Nairobi recorded more than 40 A's.
We had 231 candidates 2023, and out of the 231 students, we had over 20 A's. We had doing around 43 A minuses, and we have one of the best students, Prince Samba, in the country. He has 84 points. Prince Samba, A plane.
In Lamu County, Governor Issa Timami's son Abdallah Issa Timami is among the top students at Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed School, who scored an A in the just released KCSE exams.
Assalamu alaikum. Kwa majina ni Abdallah Issa Timami. Nimepata min grade ya A, alhamdulillah. Nataka kushukuru Mungu. Kusema ukweli nikisoma kwa bidii.
Meanwhile, in Turkana County, the principal of Lodo Boys High School, Patrick Lokoyan, has said that the school performed well this year compared to last year's results, while promising education stakeholders of improved results in the future.
This performance was better than of the previous year, where we had 6.86. But this year, the percentage of university entry is 6.1%. We are sending 93 out of 152 students to the university, far much better than the previous year in terms of percentage. Otherwise, I want to congratulate all the stakeholders for the support they have been giving to our school.
In Nyeri County, Gesiaga Mixed School made history after 437 candidates managed to get admissions to various universities. Principal Zakaria Ondieki has said that the results were due to hard work and prayers.
Mwaka huu tutamaliza syllabus mapema na tena tutafanya revision, yani kurudia kazi ambayo wanafunzi wamefunzwa mapema, alafu tutawapa maswali mengi sana. Tunataka kuwashauri wazazi kwamba muda ambao wanafunzi wako kidato cha 4 ni mfupi sana, na ninawasihi wazazi kwamba wahakikisha mwanafunzi wa kidato cha 4 amelipiwa karo na amepatiwa mahitaji ambayo anahitaji.
The situation is similar at Namachanja High School in Bungoma County, where the top student Ian Baraza Makali scored an A plane despite being in a day school. He says that he hopes to join more university to pursue a degree in medicine. And doctors in Embu County are gearing up to down their tools from next week ahead of the lapse of a 21-day notice issued to the devolved units administration in December last year. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Dr. Davji Atela, in the notice to the county government, said the decision for the go-slow was arrived at after the leadership continuously failed to address the medics' concerns. These concerns, Atela noted, most notably included failure by the Embu County government to implement the collective bargaining agreement signed on June 30th, 2017, as well as the contravention of the scheme of service put in place in 2016. The KMPDU boss went ahead to cite issues raised by the health workers, such as delayed and denied promotions and the general shortage of doctors within Embu County, singling out the Embu Level 5 hospital. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, busy on Haile Selassie this morning, in and outbound traffic doing the thing. Uhuru Highway will also take some of that as you headed towards that junction. So folks trying to get into the CBD, held up by that traffic that's heavy. It's coming off Landis as well. And then heavy right around the Kamkunji roundabout. It's all seeping on to Ring Road Ngara, and then looking at Racecourse Road, also heavy traffic into the CBD. Quite a lot of that happening this morning. Folks are up and early. We still know that quite a number are trying to head out to school, and so we'll see heightened levels of traffic because of that. All right, Thika Superhighway also busy coming in towards the Pangani underpass, and we're looking at some traffic then coming on to Kiambu Road. Limu Road is starting to build up as you're coming out of Westlands. You'll also be all right for now. James Gishuru, not such fun. In and outbound traffic, very heavy as you're trying to then connect with Waiakiri. We'll wait and see if this spills over towards Red Hill Link Road in a bit. But for now, not yet. You're still good, but we're keeping an eye on all of this. We're getting into Tuesday proper. Let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour, and we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 after 7, how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room on SpiceFM, now on KTN Home, also live on YouTube and on Facebook, SpiceFM KE. That's the page we are broadcasting on. So, schools are opening. Now we've seen Form 1s are reporting one next week.
Yes, on the 15th. Some have already started, but 15th.
You know, Form 1 is that steep climb in terms of money. Because you're buying school uniform, you're buying bed sheets, you're buying bed cover, you're buying hockey stick, football, hockey ball.
What's that ruler thing?
Bucket. The ruler thing.
The wooden one. What's it called?
The protractors, the squares, and you need a Bible. What else? Do they still go with golden bells? From 1?
What's that?
The hymn books.
Oh, I don't know. The hymn book. My goodness. Everything that you can think of, save your mother's kitchen sink, is required for Form 1.
Yeah.
A duvet, if you're going to a place where the weather is really cold, you must have a certain kind of blanket. You must have a certain kind of polo shirt. And mind you, you cannot do the one that you wear at home. It's got to be the one that's going to rhyme with the school colors.
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes. So you wonder, how on earth are we going to do this?
And it should have a logo.
Right?
Yeah.
Kiwi has an answer for you. And this is how we're going to do it. This is what I want you to do today. Walk into any supermarket, Duka, shop, wherever you find the Kiwi with the new logo available. You wonder, how does this have to do with Just hold on. So you purchase this, okay? You pop the lid, okay? Under the lid is a code. Hold it. You then take your phone and you dial *459 *5 hash. You put in that code. Instantly, you get airtime or data, right? You also get a chance to enter into a draw. This draw means that 35,000 people... No, sorry. Rewind.
Draw means?
Draw. Enter the draw. This means that 4 people every week are getting 35,000 shillings. This 35,000 shillings goes directly to school fees. And school fees, we know, includes all these things. Buying uniform. That thing that needs to be labeled, etc., etc. So it's simple. Kiwi, pay school fees. We are all happy. See, that's like that.
Quick, easy, like that. Just buy because you need kiwi anyway.
You're gonna have to buy it. And
It's one of the items that you must buy. Shoe polish, kiwi. Okay, buy the kiwi, get into the draw. Stand a chance of winning 35,000 shillings that goes towards the school fees.
Let's go.
2 birds, 1 stone.
Kind of thing.
This is the kind of thing that we talk about. Also, as you do all those things, remember when you with the heavy shopping, you want to use a reliable taxi. Now, the best taxi hailing app in this country is called Mara Moja Taxi, and Citi has downloaded it. He's been using it and he's been telling us about it. Mara Moja, you download. When you hail a taxi, it brings you options right there at the front. Tells you, so these are the drivers that are available near you. This is the name of the driver. This is the photo of the driver. This is the vehicle that they're driving. This is the registration of the car. Okay, so you select among them, who do you want? Then they come and pick you. And before they come, they even call you and tell you, boss, naona umeniita. Should I come now? Yes, I'm coming. When they get there, they let you know, I have arrived. Send you a message. When you get into the vehicle, they start a ride. For them to start a ride, you actually have received a code from the app, right? In the form of an SMS.
Yes, it's in your SMS.
And then you have got to give him the code.
You have to read the code. The
For the
digits,
driver.
this. He enters it, then he starts.
And even when you finish the ride, again you receive a code.
Yes, you do.
For you to end
and you
the
read
ride.
the digits again, and then you end the journey.
So you're in charge of your ride from beginning to the end.
Yes.
It's cheaper than everybody else, and it pays the drivers more than everybody else. It's a Kenyan app. It's called Mara Moja Taxi. Download it today. And if you download and use it right now and use the code SPICE30, you are going to get a 30% discount on your next ride. The code is SPICE30. Someone among you talking about money. Our conversations today are just going to be about money. First one is about revenues collected by county governments. We'll also talk about the national government. But what do they do with the money? Where does the money go? Our guest is Senator Ledama Olekina, the Senator for Narok County. Happy New Year, Senator.
Happy New Year, Eric.
How you doing?
Doing very well.
You look very well.
Thank you.
Yeah?
I feel good.
Lakini sasa umekuja na rungu kwa studio bwana. Shukrani.
Una bahati ya leo. Wewe unajua hii ni ile tu leadership. Hii ile kuna this is not the one with the
It's not the one with the
bolt.
No, it's not.
Can if somebody were to take it from me and say like, can I look at yours? Would you be able to give it to somebody?
No.
Because I remember my grandfather's staff.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go and hold it
and touch it.
Yeah. No.
I'm so glad you're so African, so you know the meaning of it.
Yeah.
You see, the problem with Eric, he's got the name Eric. And he's Masai, he forgets that.
Explain to people the rungu, the importance, the symbolism of what you carry.
Well, you see, it's actually a leadership tool. In every community that you go to, if they feel that you've got the charisma, you've got the, what do you call it?
It's called the wherewithal.
Yeah, maybe you can summarize that way. But if God has blessed you enough to be able to lead the nation, lead the people, then of course, by all means, you will be able to be welcome. And everyone who sees you as a leader will always prepare a rungu for you and then give it to you. You know, it's actually very important. I remember during the campaigns, one of the best gifts that I've ever received was from a place called, it's in Kilgoris. And this community really blessed me. And they decided that, you know what, we really love you and we want to give you this. you know. And then from there, I would go to another community, another community, and all of them would definitely give you that. Yes.
It's what the community does to symbolize.
Yes.
This is our leader.
Yes.
Karibu sana to the conversation.
Thank you very much.
To welcome you, CT has the day's proverb. This week's proverbs are from the Republic of Kenya. It's an African country.
Okay.
And the proverbs are in Kiswahili, and we want to bless our guests by asking them to interpret the proverb and tell us what they think.
First, translate it to English.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then interpret it.
Yes.
Adui
aangukapo muinue.
Adui aangukapo muinue. Say it in English.
If your enemy falls down, lift him up. Why would I lift my enemy up? I would crush him. Seriously. I would crush him. The only thing that I would never do, is to crush a man when he's down. You know? I'd lift him up. But if he's my enemy, I'll apply the, what do you normally call it? The 10, what?
We're waiting for you to tell us what
I can't remember the word, but I'll definitely crush him. Yeah.
But if he's down?
If it's a man who is down, for his honor, I will lift him up.
Even if he's an enemy?
That's where he draws the line.
You know, I draw the line there. Because you see, in Masai, we have a saying that says that you would rather lift a calf rather than you lifting a man, you know, a child or a man's, you know, I don't know how you translate it really. You know, because that one will actually come up and crush you. You know,
if you lift the man, he'll come up and crash you at some point. It's better that you lift
a calf,
of a livestock.
Interesting.
So makata hii proverb.
Hiyo ni makata hiyo. Hiyo hapana hiyo. That one no.
Okay. You are an opposition person. You're opposing everything. Now you even started opposing our proverb this morning.
No.
Resist.
Resist. Resist kama umeongea matope. Like so this time around sit resist.
You respectfully
decline.
Exactly.
Okay. Sawa.
Yeah.
Now, Senator, there have been issues that we've been talking about in terms of, first at the national level, the Kenya Wildlife Service and the ministry in charge have announced an increase in park entry fees.
Yes.
Then we're also seeing that happening with the game reserves. The most, of course, the world-renowned Masai Mara game reserve. There have been some moves towards that. But we take a step back and ask ourselves, when we see county governments, such as Narok County government, collecting money from the Masai Mara game reserve, it goes into the county kitty. It is for development of the county. Is it accountable for all the money that it collects?
Let me put it this way and try to demystify the whole process of revenue collection. I think it's important to know that the law, the Constitution, as well as the Public Finance Management Act, clearly define what types of levies that can be collected in counties. And also, it clearly defines on how that money which is collected is treated. If you look at Section 109 of the Public Finance Management Act, it says that all revenue collected shall be deposited in the revenue fund account, except money which is otherwise exempted by an act of parliament or by the Constitution. And in most cases, the biggest problem that we've had is those in power understanding the fiduciary duty, the trust that has been bestowed on them by the public, and that they have a legal obligation to maintain that trust. The biggest challenge we have is one, and I'll try to be very clear, and I'll go back to your first statement, is that when you collect these resources, you need to understand that that money does not belong to you as a person. You're only collecting it because people have trusted you. They have given you the fiduciary duty. They have trusted you to collect that money and spend it to be able to provide services to them, because these are taxpayers' money. One of the biggest problems that we've seen is a lack of accountabilities in counties. And I feel very sad about this because I sit in the Senate and I push for more money to go to the counties. And I'll still continue pushing for more money to go to the counties so that it can provide medicine to the people. It can also be able to provide good roads. It can provide water to the poor communities. And in most cases, it will also be able to provide bursaries. Right now, children are going to school. In Narok County, there are no bursaries because of mismanagement, So that is where I draw the line. I say I will raise money, I will push for money. If you collect money, make sure you account for that money properly. We have a problem that trickles down from the national government all the way to the county governments. If you look at the national government budget, even before that budget is implemented, there's a supplementary. Because someone starts thinking, I should have spent this money this way, which is actually wrong. I think the first thing that we ought to do is to make sure that we understand the budget-making process. We go through the budget-making process. There's a budget policy statement. We come up, we go through the division of revenue and all that stuff, and then the budget is made. When you make that budget, it has to be informed by the budget policy statement. But in most cases, if you look at even Treasury, when they come up with the budget policy statement, is a cut and paste of the previous budget policy statement because legislators do not have the time to read and understand and also be able to demystify to the people the whole thing of the budget making process. So you'll find counties that will come up and the CC finances will read a blotted budget. And then they will have like 6 or 7 supplementaries because along the line they'll realize we have a problem. Either we have a shortfall in revenue collection, or number 2, we do not value this.
We are changing our priorities midway.
We're changing our priorities midways. And sometimes they even messed up because the law requires that if you move money from one line item to another, you have to carry out a supplementary budget before the end of the year to be able to correct that. Now, going back to the money which is collected, is it used wisely? It is not. And I'll tell you why. You see, the framers of the Constitution put the control of budget there so that the control of budget can clearly give the authority for money to be released from the exchequer. What the problem is, and I think Senator Okoh Mtata had attempted to explain to the public where the problem was when it comes to the issue of the independence of Treasury, the independence of, county governments, the independence of our institutions. The president controls his treasury. He shouldn't control the treasury. The treasury should actually be independent. So, I agree with Omutata when he talks about us realigning, or rethinking the Public Finance Management Act so that we can ensure that we give these agencies their independence. That goes down also to the county levels. If you look at the assemblies depend on the governor so that he can be able to give them money. That is one of the things that I'll say today is that this year we will push for the independence of their county assemblies so that they can be able to have their own treasury, And if treasury in the national government is independent, when the money is released and the controller budget is satisfied that money has been released and is going to be used for the intended purpose, then by all means, we will have some form of discipline in how the money is spent. What has been happening right now, and I've called off Narok County for this, because what they will do is they will send a cash requisition to the exchequer through the controller budget. It will literally be a cut and paste of the previous requisition. When you look at the folio, there's something called folio B. You will look at, it's like a spreadsheet. They will say we are requisitioning money to do what? To pay Eric, to pay so and so. But when the money reaches the county government, it is diverted to other people. And that's illegal. And in fact, this year, I will be even going to court.
But how does this happen? You see,
I'll tell you how it happens.
There are institutions that have been in place, just like you've said.
Yes.
Constitutional, there is the controller of budget.
Yes.
There is the Auditor General.
Yes.
There's the County Assembly, obviously.
Yeah.
Even in the PFM Act, there is a process by which money leaves these two accounts, the County Revenue Fund and the consolidated account.
Yes.
There is a process that money goes up to the final payment.
Yes.
How can it happen year in, year out that all these games are played without anybody noticing.
No, it is not that nobody is noticing. People are noticing.
And then?
But here's a problem. And I think this is where I even told the controller of budget that she's got the power. If you read the Constitution clearly, the Constitution says that she cannot release money unless she's satisfied that that money is going to be used according to the Constitution. Now, where the problem comes in is the power given to the CC Finance. You know, there are two levels of approval that is required. When the money is requisitioned from the controller of budget, there's a line item. So, in fact, the CEO of Finance will write to the controller of budget and say, we want a credit from this line item. The controller of budget will look at the budget and they will see whether the money is there, and they'll say, and they will release based on paying the following expenditures.
Yes.
Now, when the money leaves there, the money goes to IFMIS. You know, the IFMIS director releases the money is in IFMIS. Where the mischief comes in is before the last click of the payment, which is called the internet banking, IB. So at the IFMIS, everything is clear. You showed that we're paying Eric. You know, and Eric is excited, is about to get his money. But where my brother sits is in the bank. Now, all of a sudden, another list of people, you know, is produced for the second authority, because it's got two levels of approval. Approval 1 and approval 2. And the PFM, or the Public Finance Management Act, places the CC Finance as the head of treasury of the county assembly. So the CC Finances are the most powerful people, you know, and they sort of like, they topple over their chief officers, you know, because they say, I have these powers. They topple over the chief officers. That's where we need to draw the line. That's where we need to look at and say, this is ridiculous, and we now need to sue both the approvals, those two approvals.
Senator, you're talking about illegalities here.
Yes.
We're not talking about, you know, run-of-the-mill, any kind of office behavior. We're talking about illegalities. And it is clear that it is common practice. It's been happening for some time. But the question is, how come, especially coming from an oversight role, how come we've not seen that any kind of action comes? This continually happens.
That's a very good question. I think the only way that I can explain that is that at the onset, the Senate did not even have any money for oversight. So it was very difficult for the Senate to be able to push. You know, like Ledama will have to use his money to be able to go and oversight, to go and push it. And then there are these institutions like the DPP, there's this institution like the DCI, the anti-corruption, ESCC. And I want to be very candid here. The problem is that in the Senate, we will put recommendations that prosecute, you know, like investigate and prosecute this person because of this mismanagement of funds. Then, of course, these governors will take all the monies and they will go and they'll pocket this other institution. That's a fact. You know, so now for us this year, I have decided that it doesn't matter whether I'm going through the Senate, I will still go to that arm of government that has got the power of mercy, which is the judiciary, because it is the last point where you get justice. And it is ridiculous for us to be given an opportunity to serve people, yet some people think that they are a gift from heaven to be able to come in and, you know, sort of like traverse the whole country with helicopters and use money that belongs to the public. So now we will use all avenues. We will use the Senate, we will use the courts, and we'll also go to the public for the public to know how their money is being spent.
So in addition to money being diverted to places where it's not supposed to go, we now, if we're looking at Narok specifically, are seeing a situation whereby there's a suggestion that park fees be raised, right? I've always been an advocate for domestic tourism, to even look at a way in which these prices can come down so that more Kenyans will be able to visit some of these places and you'll be able to rank up your numbers because more Kenyans are going to these spots. But if we're looking at a situation where the prices are going up and we're already saying that money which is supposed to come in has been diverted and gone somewhere else, what are the guarantees that if you even raise these prices, actually going towards things like conservancy, it's going towards upgrades? We can't even be sure of that.
No, let me put it this way. I'm always against a few institutions like the IMF and the World Bank. I'm always also very clear on defining colonialism and neocolonialism. What is happening in the Masai Mara is coupled with a few factors. Number one, there is an issue of neocolonialism. There is an issue of exclusivity. There is a group of kaburus who are now pocketing the governor and saying, listen, let us make Masai Mara exclusive. So the only way for us to make Masai Mara exclusive is by us increasing park fees to reduce the number of people who are coming in, so that the only people who can come to the Masai Mara are exclusive. There are people who can be able to pay a lot of money. Because it is absolutely ridiculous for you to say, to be able to enter the park. I'll be very honest. Let me just finish. Allow me to finish.
Okay.
Because one thing, Eric, about me is that I will never say anything that I do not have facts on. You know? Because how do you justify? You've got a backpacker. You know, Eric, you and I are middle-class people. You know, we go to the park. You have a family, you know, you're a Masai, so maybe you have 2 wives. You have about whatever, and you happen to live in in the States, and you decided, oh, I'm getting what?
Let me
the
take
US
my family
citizenship.
back to Kenya.
You know, so I'm going back to Kenya. So when you come back to Kenya, you forgot to get your dual citizenship. So you are coming back as a Kenyan with, you know, you're feeling so generous. So you come in, you have your wife, you have your 4 kids, so you're 6 of you. And then you say, we're going to the Mara for 3 nights. Before you enter the Mara like this, you are told, Eric, for you to enter alone is $280. For your wife is $280. And that is $200. That is $80. You can't afford. Then you say, oh, what do I do? Then you now say, okay, where are these Kenyans who have got camps here? They're all outside the park because they cannot afford. So this middle class man who has really worked so hard, you now decide, I'm just going to camp here. So you camp there, you'll actually be sitting at the periphery watching at the wildlife because you cannot go in. You know, what is happening is that, one, there are few individuals who feel like they want to own the Mara exclusively. So they look for a gullible leader, and then they tell him, listen, you raise the parks, these people who do not want to pay, they can go. Forgetting that tickets to the Mara is like buying tickets for a Super Bowl. They are sold through a pre-sale system, whereby you buy your ticket maybe a year or 2 years in advance. You know, forgetting also that there are legislations in other countries. We depend so much on tourists from the West. You depend on tourists from Europe. The European Union, the laws in the European Union, laws in terms of pre-sale tickets, they're very clear. You cannot increase them more than 8%. But in this case, when you come in without public participation, because what has happened with the issue of Narok is that the governor cherry-picked a few stakeholders, called them to to Serena Hotel, and told them this is a Mara management plan. And then at the tail end of the meeting, he tells them, and by the way, folks, we're going to raise the fees. You know? And I'm like, if anyone objecting? Anyone objecting? And said, okay, no one is objecting, no one is talking.
Senator, who owns the Mara?
The Mara is owned by the residents of Narok County. In fact, the Masai people owns the Masai Mara. It is not owned by the national government. It is owned by Narok County government.
So if the county government looks at one of its revenue streams and proposes to increase the amount of money that it's raising there, why would you bring in the issue of kaburus and all these other conspiracies?
Because it is an issue of public participation. Narok County has got 6 constituencies. It behooves the leadership of Narok County to traverse the entire county of Narok and seek, you know, the residents' opinions. That's number one. Number two, there is a federation of tourists, of tour operators. These are the people who are bringing tourists. Okay? You need to be able to call all of them and seek their opinion. I have no problem with fees going into the Mara being raised gradually. But you cannot wake up all of a sudden from $80 to $280. You really cannot do that. It is ridiculous. You know, and that is the reason why when you in your first statement, you talked about KWS. The reason why KWS was stopped by the court is because they did not seek public opinion. in terms of raising that. And that is why the Constitution is there. It is like where people talk about rights. Like yesterday I was in another media house, and a lawyer was talking about rights under Article 33. Eric, your right stops where mine begins. If you are now, sort of like interfering with my ability to enjoy my vacation, then of course you are toppling on my rights. So the issue here is this.
The main issue, as I hear you saying, is public participation.
One, public
lack of
participation.
proper consultation.
Number two, it's also very, very important to understand how the tourism sector operates, how tickets are sold. It is not a walk-in. Eric, you will not just decide, I'm going to the Mara today, and you go in. You plan ahead. So you plan 6 months, you plan a year ahead, you buy tickets.
Are you saying I can't wake up tomorrow morning and go to the Mara?
You can, absolutely.
But
however,
many people plan their travel.
90% of agents all over the world pre-book, because hotels are sold out. It is like now, let's actually be very, very basic in terms of trying to explain this. If you go into your, let's say, Expedian, and you want to buy a ticket to go to the States, if you buy that ticket 2 weeks before your travel, it will be cheaper.
Yeah.
If you buy it today,
on the day of travel,
you'll probably pay like an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
So really, it's an issue of understanding how these things happen. Now, my other big problem.
Let's take a break.
Yes.
And then you'll tell us the other big problem. 25 minutes to 8. Senator Ledama Olekina is our guest. He is the senator for Narok County. He has issues that he's raising with regards to the management of the Masai Mara Game Reserve, the county government's involvement in it, and the proposals by the current county executive on raising of fees. We'll continue that conversation shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel and enjoy the vibes.
These highs of 24 and lows of 15, and we'll see lows of 16 in a partly sunny Nakuru. Going to highs of 25. 24 will be the high in Nyeri. It's partly cloudy at 15, and Eldoret is sunny this morning at 14 with highs of 24. Sunny conditions at 26, going to highs of 31 in Mombasa, and in Malindi we'll see highs of 32, where it's currently sunny at 28. Kisumu is sunny at 21 and going to highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kakamega, currently at 20. Looking out to Kampala, raining this morning at 20 with highs of 27, and it's mostly sunny at 27 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 31 and lows of 26. Looking into a mostly cloudy Johannesburg at 16 with highs of 24. Mogadishu is sunny at 24 with highs of 32 and 15, and sunny in Addis Ababa, going to highs of 22 Tuesday. Lagos is clear at 25 with highs of 33, and Kinshasa is cloudy at 25, going to highs of 32.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel
Where it's heavy on James Gishuru this morning, coming in from Zima Springs, and that's well in from James Gishuru, Zima Springs, and then out towards Wayakiwe. Very slow movement in both directions, all the way through and through. From Riara, touching on James Gishuru, which comes in then from Gong Road and in from Naivasha Road. That's really busy this morning. So that is a whole issue there. On the Thika Superhighway, it's also coming in heavy. It's coming through towards Survey, and also some traffic on Kiambu Road. Limuru Road is also pretty busy. All the folks coming in from Muthaiga and then in from United Nations Avenue, tunneling into Limuru Road, so we're going to have to watch out for that. Landis, absolute mess. Inbound traffic going towards Kamkunji, very heavy. Ring Road, Gara, and all of that feeding into the CBD this morning, quite something. So let's keep an eye on it. We're in traffic hour proper. Let's see what happens as we get closer to the top of the hour. And we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. done right. 94.4 Spice.
Continues with Narok Senator Ledama Olekina. We're talking about the Masai Mara Game Reserve. So there's the game reserve, the gazetted game reserve, and then also the conservancies around it.
Yes.
Community conservancies.
Yes.
Now the issue here is with the reserve itself.
The game reserve.
Because the reserve itself is where there's a gate and there's a fence, and you have to pay to enter the game reserve.
You also have to pay to enter the conservancies.
The conservancies, but those are controlled by the conservancies.
The conservancies are controlled by the conservancies, and they're actually doing much better. You'd be surprised that more game is now in the conservancy. I said before we went on the break, I said there's also one other very big problem.
Yeah.
I see, when it comes to leadership and management, you've got to really think about what will make your, your product shine. You know, as a businessman, I love the advertisement you're doing for Kiwi, because you're trying to explain how best you can be able to benefit by using it. Now, when you look at the Masai Mara, we all have competition with the neighboring countries. Serengeti is an example. How much is Serengeti charging? Serengeti is charging a maximum of $80. During the low season, they go down to $60. And Serengeti has got less pets, but actually has got more game, and more people are moving there. There's about 70% cancellation of this season in July. This will be the first year that Narok County will not make money because of sort of like haphazard decision. Number two, the other big problem which I'm referring to is this. Everyone now who is working in the Mara will go to the Mara, buy an acre along the river, and then start working. When you make so much money, you buy tens and tens of thousands of cows. You know? So now an American will pay the $280 that you want him to pay to come. He will come with his family of 5. You know? So you can do the math for me. Then he wants to stay for 3 nights. You charge him, first of all, the 280 times 5 times the number of nights that he's going to stay there. Minimum is normally 3 nights. You know, and maybe there's a family of 5. And then now, when they're going on the game drive, guess what? The thing that they see are thousands of cows. Why the hell did I travel all the way from America to come and see thousands of cows? So there's mismanagement.
You're talking about $21,000
yes,
for a family for 3 nights.
For 3 nights. Just to enter. That's just park fee.
Yeah.
It's not accommodation. You know, it's not game drive.
It is not game drive.
It is not into Mara.
It is just park fees to enter, which is absolutely ridiculous. And you know, the problem also is this. Not all that money goes to the county coffers.
Where does it go?
That money, I'll give you a very good example. During the Christmas season, the CC Finance of Narok walked into the park. He was doing random checks. Then he goes in, and then he finds a park administrator. The park administrator, he finds the vehicles, and he says, "Can I see your tickets?" So the guys were like, "Oh, can you talk to the chief park administrator?" So he goes in and he says, "Hey, where are the tickets for that vehicle?" He says, "Oh, hold on a minute." So the guy calls the governor. He doesn't get the governor. He gets the brother of the governor, because he seems to be now the de facto governor.
Right.
And then he tells him, you don't report to him, you report directly to the governor. So it is not right. Whatever is happening is actually not right, because not all the money. Because let me tell you, Eric, when you go to Narok County in July, August, September, and October, and you go to the Masai Mara, you will not get accommodation.
Yep.
And how many beds are in Narok County in Masai Mara? There are 5,332 beds.
That's within the reserve and the conservancies.
Inside the reserve.
Only
inside
the reserve.
There are 117 camps. 117 camps. Along the cap, whatever. And then there are 46 tended camps inside and lodges. So if you add all those people, you count how much money. So let's say $280 multiplied by 5,332 beds. Narok County would be collecting more money than
it's one of the wealthiest counties.
Than the treasury, really. If you think about it. No. So where is that money? How come that money is not there? So the problem is this.
So you tell us, where's the money?
If you are asking me, I'll ask the governor. I'm following it up. Trust me. I'm following up all that money. But the problem is this. And I want to be very, very clear. One, you cannot just wake up, without consulting, proper consultation, and decides to increase revenue 300%. And then the other very big problem, for the last, how many years has the Masai Mara been in existence? For the last 60 years, we have always been operating on a 24-hour ticket. 24-hour ticket. Now you are told, no, you will not only pay $280, but you will only stay in the Mara for 12 hours. So if you leave Nairobi now by car, you're going to Narok, you get to the escarpment, you stay there for 6 hours because of the traffic, you know, and then you get to the park at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. You don't even get to go to your room. You're tired.
It expires in an hour.
1 hour, literally 1 hour, for you to be able to do what? To do your game viewing and go to your room. The next morning,
pay.
The next morning, let me tell you what happened the next morning. If you're not staying in the Mara for 2 days, the next morning, you've got until 11 a.m., no morning game drive, to exit the park. If you're flown into the Mara, and let's say you go to the Mara at around 5 p.m., so you've got 1 hour. You've got to stay in your hotel room. That's the rule. You stay in your hotel room until 10:30 a.m., and then you drive half an hour to the airstrip for you to leave. What sort of dictatorship is that?
So what informs all these decisions?
It's, one, ill-advised, you know, this thinking, or this, allowing power to consume you. And then number two, and I say this,
but that is like shooting yourself in the foot.
Exactly.
Look, as the boss of a county executive, you know that this is one of your great cash cows, right? To finance your own source revenue.
Yes.
Is just fees from the Masai Mara Game Reserve. And around there, you know very well that this is how I can finance my budget. So you know very well that if I do something that is detrimental to this, it'll affect not only how I'm able to govern, but also the promises that I made to the people. Why would somebody make such a decision?
I think it's
I fail to
I think
see.
it's exactly, and I also fail to understand. But I think it's an issue of being ill-advised. Number one, there's also an issue of not caring about the people around you. Because what I would expect Governor Ndutu to do is, number one, have a clear public participation forum where you sit down and you take the views of your stakeholders. In fact, the Federation of Tourism, the Kenya Tourism Federation, is very important because they are the people who will decide we're either bringing you the tourist or we are taking them to the Serengeti. Nothing stopped them from taking them to the Serengeti. And they are doing that. They're actually doing that. So for me, as a person who is tasked with the constitutional responsibility of protecting the counties, I am doing my job by making sure that, number one, I also move to court, just like the Federation of Tourists have moved to court, to stop this because it is going to do three things. One, there'll be massive job losses. Because if tourists cannot come, those camps will not be able to do what? To employ people. There are camps inside the park. There are around 46 camps sites inside the park. You know, even the way those camps were allocated to those individuals, it's questionable. But I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm going to deal with the issue of really the practicality of these things. Number two, the $80 bed night fee that you are now imposing on these people, you do not have a clear policy on how you're going to spend that money. We have something called the 19% community fund, where it's a fund which was established many years ago that really intended that 19% of all the revenue collected from the park will be put into this fund to compensate the Maasais who are killed by wild animals, maybe support that community, go to school. It was never done. It was never done. So if you are telling me that now the $80 that you're charging, the $40 will go to the camp owner, the $40 will go to that community fund, pass it through legislative process, have a clear legislative framework on how that money is going to be spent, so that tomorrow, when the auditors come, I will not feel embarrassed as a senator of Narok trying to defend my county when you have spent money you're not supposed to spend wrongly. There is also the biggest problem of not caring about, one, the camp owners, because they're the ones who are bringing you the business. So in my view, what the governor ought to do is, now, number one, instead of going through a heavy court battle in court, because it will happen there, it will go all the way to the Supreme Court. And ultimately, he will lose. Instead of doing that, because he will lose either in two ways. One, if the judiciary decides, Governor, you're right for raising the fees, guess what the tour operators will do? They'll say, hey, fair enough. We'll go to South Africa. We'll go to the Serengeti. To go to Kruger National Park, I think it's $20.
They'll come to Amboseli.
They will go to Amboseli.
We'll be fine.
They will go to Amboseli. They will go to Amboseli. So really, for me, I'm not just whining, but I'm just saying, the governor, Patrick Ndutu, you need to think.
Listen to the
Seriously,
people.
you need to listen to the people.
Mheshimiwa, there is a Wildlife Conservation and Management Act.
Yes.
2013. Everything you're saying, it lays down quite clearly. One of the things that must happen, you're talking about a wildlife endowment fund and a compensation scheme. It is in the Constitution. It is not a suggestion. It is not something that you're supposed to do when you like, or if you don't, you must. So, meaning if it isn't there, then someone is in contravention of
that act.
Precisely. Absolutely. And then there's this little thing when it comes to revenue.
I'm glad you just raised that, because then that will be meat or fodder for my case as well. Yeah.
Yes. There's something called the equitable sharing of whatever resources that accrue. Now, in the absence of certain structures that are put in place to ensure, because you're talking about funds, the money comes in. Everything in the Mara belongs to the people. It's not complicated.
Absolutely.
It's not complicated. That's where the term equitable comes in. How then do you know? And it can't be equitable if you haven't consulted the communities to understand what their needs are, so that it can be the funds can be allocated to meet those needs. So if you're saying indeed that the governor isn't conducting public participation, then the question you ask is, okay, first of all, how much money is being raised? And when this money is being raised, some money trickles down to the communities. What is it? How is it that it is conducted? And is there a deficit? And if that is a deficit, is it a deficit that is mentioned and brought about by the community to say, look, this is what we wanted and this is what we've gotten? Because what the county government is instituted to do is to provide, in the name of development, processes that will benefit the people. Now, when you, as the county of Narok, have one resource that other people would salivate and wish and die for, because if you're talking about your own source revenue, there are very few counties that have serious own source revenue, like the county of Narok.
Yes.
So many questions abound.
Now let me just tell you what I'm about to do. I will institute an accountability mechanism that has never been seen in this country. Number one, I will use my position as a senator and my platform in the Senate, first of all, to summon all hotel operators in the Mara, for them to provide me with a clear audit of all the tourists who have spent a night, if it is one night, if it is 3 nights, in their camps. I will compare that apple to apple with the money that the county government is saying that they have collected. I will also knock on KRA and I will say, gentlemen, it is about time that we all work together to ensure accountability of the money which is collected in the park. By doing that, it will then it will force that discipline to be able to come in. Then we will now talk about the equitable sharing of that resource. We will talk about what the Environmental Act says in terms of that compensating that community. Because we will be very clear. I will never have to come here and look at Eric in the eye and say, Eric, although we are collecting 5 billion, we are only reporting 2 billion. We will now require, even if this calls for a motion, even if this calls for legislation, I'm prepared to do that. We will now require a very clear process of understanding how many tourists have gone to the Mara. If you have flown into the Mara, we don't need to have your name because we have to deal with the issue of data protection. Even if it's a number, we'll have a number. Okay? If you enter the park like this, we'll have a number. At the end of the month, We will calculate how many people have entered into those hotels. We will take the data from the hotels. We will take the data from the revenue collectors, and we will compare apples to apples. Because if you think about it, KRA has a stake in this, a very big stake for national government. Because if Eric comes to the Mara today, you will pay your park entry fee that will go to the Narok County. You will go to the hotel, you'll have a beer or two, you'll have your accommodation. KRA has a stake there. So by knowing how many people have spent a night in, let's say, for instance, Mara Plains Camp, which is owned by one of the Kaburus, who are trying to seek for exclusivity, we will say if you have like 50 guests who have stayed there, how much did you charge them? Those 50 must be reflected in the same database of the Narok County's revenue collection.
Senator, before we run out of time, there's something I want to ask. Among people who call themselves conservationists, who believe in conserving wildlife resources. Now, wildlife doesn't just refer to the animals, but the ecosystem within which they exist. There's the balance that is always talked about within the ecosystem. And when you talk about, say, hotels, camps, there is always that story of the pressure that is brought to bear in the relationships that then animals, the ecosystem, and how that is balanced. So, when people talk about exclusivity, I mean, whether they talk about it, whether they talk about it, what really is their claim? Are they saying that, are they fighting for preserving the ecosystem of the Mara?
Absolutely not.
Or
absolutely, they are lining their own pockets.
Do they just want to keep other people out?
They want to keep other people out. First of all, there are two things. Number one, if you raise the $80 bed night fee, you are making the camps outside the reserve more attractive because there's no $80 park fee, $80 bed night fee. Now, if you raise the park entry fee to $200, you are even limiting those camps which are outside the Mara from being able to bring in guests to go into the Mara. So ultimately, there are always things we call intended and unintended consequences. Maybe the intended consequences was to limit the people who go into the Mara and maybe just bring in, sort of like, quote unquote, the finest of the finest or whatever you want to call them to enter in, and they pay top dollars to come in. Now, if they are coming in and they are paying top dollars and everything, you'll probably get that money. It will not flow constantly. You know very well, and I want to end by saying this. You know very well that every Kenyan wears a pair of shoes. Senator Ledamo Lekena is wearing a black shoe today. Okay? I will have to go to the shop to buy kiwi to polish. Okay? If kiwi was being sold to me at 1,000 shillings, it is only a few of us who will afford to do what?
To buy the kiwi.
To buy. But if you go to to the slums, if you go anywhere, even to the rural areas, you'll find somebody with a pair of shoes. And he will be able to buy it and polish his shoes, and they'll look good. So you really have to be balanced. You have to ask yourself, how can I balance? How can I make those camps which are inside the park attractive? How can I make the camps which are outside the park attractive?
Just as attractive.
And how do I ensure a fiduciary duty? It's a legal obligation.
I have a concern as we conclude, Senator. What you've talked about, what you want to do next, trying to seek to clearly understand the amount of money that is raised by the county government of Narok at the game reserve. And I'm just thinking, this is not a new thing to Narok.
It is not.
Narok has been managing and governing this park.
It is not.
Even before devolution.
It is not.
The Narok County Council was running the park. So to tell me that they don't have, as something that you can see as a senator for Narok County, an accountability mechanism that shows you this is actually how much money we raise from Narok County government, I think you should not even be doing this work yourself. You should be seeking a way of...
No. Let me clarify that. We do have. However, as time goes by, we become greedier. Okay? We now want to drive a Rolls Royals. So you'll devise mechanism to divert those monies, to find mechanism whereby if there are 10 vehicles coming, you create a cabal.
And you register less.
So you register less. So the system is there. But there's a check and balance system. Just like the framers of the Constitution.
Is the system okay or is the system compromised?
I would probably say, to be very, very honest, I think CAPS, which has been collecting revenue on behalf of the Narok County, has got a very good system that works. I think Mara Conservancy, which is managing, has got a very good system that works. I think any revenue collection company that comes in, develop a very good system. But these systems are manipulated. This system are manipulated as follows. One, you either do not issue a ticket and you allow people to be able to go in, and you make sure that you have the human interface to be able to control for when they are being checked. Or, finally, you just fold and say, the park is free for everybody.
Senator, come again soon. Let's continue this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Ledamo Lakina is a senator for Narok County. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more. 8 a.m.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Despite the schools in the slums going through a lot of challenges, including infrastructure and lack of resources, Boma Boys High School in Tuwan Slum Saboti constituency in Trans Nzoia County performed well. The head teacher of the school, Isaac Makoha, said 5 students have obtained A and A minuses and that approximately 153 students out of 182 will be joining the university.
Shule hii tumepewa kiwango cha extra county school tangu 2019. Lakini ukiangalia muundo msingi wake tungali nyuma kidogo, lakini licha ya mazingira kama haya tumeona kiwango cha quality grades zikiongezeka. Tulikuwa tumelenga 7.6 na tumeingia papo hapo. Tumepata A plain 1 na A minus 4. 153 wanajiunga na chuo kikuu out of 182. Hiyo ni 84%.
St. Patrick's Mukunga in Kwanza constituency, a community with a high percentage of students from poor families, has seen 110 students, including 2 with A minuses, join the university.
Tumepata wanafunzi 2 na alama ya A, Osundwa Gideon, alafu Peter Gitau. Wanafunzi 110 wanaenda katika vyuo vikuu C+ and above. Huo mmoja ndio maana inaleta matokeo yanakuwa mema. Ikifikia mwezi wa pili huwa tumemaliza syllabus ya form 4. Alafu tuanze tu marudio. Tukiona wanafunzi 2 walikuwa na nidhamu nzuri. So shule yetu inapenda na huwa inakuwa na nidhamu kwa wanafunzi.
3 suspects are in police custody at Archer's Post in Samburu County after they were found trafficking 196 kilograms of bang valued at 5.9 million shillings. Police said the illegal substance was concealed beneath sacks of beans. The 3 suspects have been identified as 20-year-old Harun Mohammed Galgalo, 22-year-old Ali Abdikadir Mohammed, and the driver, 34-year-old Isaac Mohammed Bakacha. The suspects were arrested following a multi-agency operation that saw sniffer dogs discover the hidden drugs. Police said that 66 bales of bang were confiscated and have since been secured as exhibits. The 3 suspects connected to the murder of Meru blogger Daniel Mithiani, a large sniper, will spend 21 days in custody as police conclude the investigations. The trio, Boniface Gidinji, also known as DJ Kaboom, Brian Mwenda, also known as Brio, and Grace Kathambi, will be detained in Gigiri police station to enable DCI sleuths to conclude the investigations. The victim is said to have disappeared on 2nd of December 2023, and his badly mutilated body was found on the 16th of December 2023. Now, the United Nations has voiced alarm at the many journalists killed in the war in Gaza a day after 2 Al Jazeera reporters died in an alleged Israeli strike on their camp. Al Jazeera said 2 of its Palestinian journalists were killed in the southern city of Rafah in what it claimed was an Israeli targeted killing. Hamza Wael Dadu and Mustafa Thuria, who also worked as a video stringer for AFP and other news organizations, were killed while they were on their way to carry out their duty for Al Jazeera in the Gaza Strip. Now, the third freelance journalist, Hazim Rajab, was seriously injured. Witnesses said that the two rockets were fired at the car. One hit the front of the vehicle and the other hit Hamza, who was sitting next to the driver. And Pope Francis has called for a global ban on parenting via surrogacy, calling the practice deplorable and a grave violation of the dignity of the woman and the child. Francis' remarks are likely to antagonize pro-LGBT plus groups, since surrogacy is often used by gay or lesbian partners who want to have children, and follow his landmark decision to allow priests to bless same-sex couples. Francis made his comments in a 45-minute address to Vatican accredited diplomats, which is sometimes called his State of the World speech. There are few statistics on the number of babies born through surrogacy. Due to ethical concerns, the practice is illegal in many countries around the world, as well as in some US states. And the changes in dates for the World Rally Championships Safari Rally comes with new challenges, according to the organizers. This is by and large a paradigm shift from the last three editions in 2021, 2022 and 2023, which ran in late June. The 2024 FIFA World Rally Championship schedule sees Fable Safari revert to its traditional Easter holiday date on the weekend of March 28th to 31st. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so we're looking at traffic still building on the Thika Superhighway. That was crazy a while ago as you're getting towards that Pangani tunnel, but looks a little bit better now. Also traffic then coming off Jogo Road heading onto Landis. It's absolutely crazy this morning. Haile Selassie also doing the thing. Some traffic also coming off of Ring Road in Ngara. We've not seen it like this for some time. Quite some coming off in that direction. Limuru Road is busy. It's getting into the city via Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai is chock-a-block, bumper to bumper, all the way past museums, touching on Chiromo, and then out towards Uhuru Highway. So there's traffic everywhere you look this morning. And it's just 8 o'clock. What's going to happen in half an hour? We don't know. We'll wait and see. Talk to us and let us know what's going on where you are. We're trying to keep things moving this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room, live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and on Facebook. We are thankful that you are always choosing us as the best way to start your morning. Reminding you about Mara Moja Taxi. So, Mara Moja Taxi are telling you, look. So you've listened to Spice, and you've gone to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store or the other App Store, and you've downloaded us. It's a blue one. And then you decide, I'm going to use Mara Moja Taxi for my next ride. If you use the code SPICE30, we are going to give you a 30% discount on your next ride. And then what's even more, at any point, if you load money onto your Mara Moja wallet, we give you 50% extra. So you load 100 Bob City, you get
50% of that. We get 50.
Yes.
Nusu ile pesa umeweka unaongezewa.
Yeah,
so if you put 100, you get 50. So you now have 150.
Imagine.
Yes.
In that wallet.
Yes.
All right? And then you use it for your next ride. You can use it to pay. The good thing also about the Mara Moja app is the thing that we've talked about. You're able to select the driver that you want to use. So you choose the driver that you want. And if you really, really like the driver, like City likes a couple of drivers, then and next time he wants to use the same driver, you basically go, search, you pair, and you schedule your trip, you pair the driver. So you have your cab guy. And it works, huh?
It works, actually.
Very well.
It works.
Very good. Very good. Our next guest is here. We're here to talk about the economic outlook for 2024, revenue collections, tax, public finance management, debt repayments, and avoiding default. Jimmy Wanjege, businessman, politician. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
How are you doing?
To all of you. It's good to be back. Yeah, how have you been? How's the new year begun?
Well, here.
Yeah. I guess like all of us. Huh?
As you can see.
That says a lot. That says a lot.
You look well, Jimmy.
I'm well.
Good.
Had a good Christmas break. Didn't move from the city.
You took a break?
Yeah, I took a break.
From what?
From just general life.
And then you just chill?
Yes, just chilled with the family. Yeah. It's good to see you.
Should do that more often.
Yeah. Yeah,
it feels very good for you. See?
Yeah, it feels very good. Good to see
you are more positive in your outlook.
Oh, yes. About life in general, yes. Oh, yes.
Very good.
About Kenya, that we'll talk about.
Yeah. Tell him about. We are positive about school fees with Kiwi.
So let's try. And Kiwi's helping us do that. So, take a chance on that.
Last time you were here, Jimmy, by the way, you promised that you were going to do some shopping for Kiwi. You got into the
by
draw.
The way,
you were not
you
lucky.
Never came back to me.
What do you mean we come back to you?
Yeah, you were supposed to give me some details when I went out. And
All right.
Okay, let me give you.
So you're here
Please,
today?
Yes.
Give him the details.
We are going to start now.
Right,
yes.
With those details.
Start.
Agreed.
You see this thing? This tin of Kiwi with this new logo. You see the logo there? Yellow, red, all those happy colors? All right. So this is what we want you to go pick up. You and everybody else. Because, school fees is a thing this month. In the next couple of days, everybody's whinging and it's really a tough state. So Kiwi thought ahead and they said, you know what? We've been asking you all to step up and shine ever since we created this product. So here's another opportunity for you to do that. Pick up a tin of Kiwi, the new logo. There is a starburst with a code, *459 *5 hash. Also, under the code, under the lid, when you pop it, there's another code. And you're going to put that code in when you dial this. All right? You get airtime or data instantly. You can do whatever you want with that. Now, what you cannot do whatever you want with is this draw that you enter into, where 4 people every week are winning 35,000 shillings.
That's fantastic.
It's for school fees.
For school fees.
And it goes directly to school. So none of this business, this. I removed 2,000 because I'm... 35,000 shillings direct to school. You don't even have to worry about it. It takes over a number of things.
That's fantastic.
And you can actually win and give it to somebody else. Yes.
4 people.
4 people every week are winning.
enters a draw.
Oh.
Every can enters a draw.
That we shall support.
Still.
Yep.
And then people are going to school. We're stepping up. We're shining. We're doing the thing.
Fantastic.
Very good. First test of the day, Jimmy, is your understanding of Swahili. City has the day's proverb. And this week, the proverbs are from the Republic of Kenya, the great Republic of Kenya.
Very good.
60th fastest growing economy in the world.
Are you trying to set the tone?
Yes.
60 years old.
60 years
You're
old.
consistent.
Yeah.
60.
Was it 60th or 29th fastest? I think it was 29th. 29th growing.
Even if it's 29th,
you can say 6% GDP growth.
Yes, but I like the 60 because it's being prophetic.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, yeah. The proverb is in Swahili.
Yes.
So, Jimmy, you first translate into English and then interpret it.
Nakusikia.
Asante sana kaka. Adui aangukapo muinue.
Again.
Adui aangukapo muinue.
The enemy falls, lift him.
Okay. Good translation. Now, tell us, what do you think it means?
When you fall, CT, I'll lift you.
This man has just declared that his enemy. Jimmy. The declaration is that I'm your enemy. So I fall.
I'm pulling your leg this morning.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
You're my best friend.
Now it's my turn to laugh.
That's rich.
My best friend.
What do you think the Kenyans are saying? What's the deeper meaning of this proverb?
That when somebody is down, lift them, even if it's your enemy. Lift them.
Why?
Because we are called to a greater purpose than being vengeful, being unforgiving. So lift your enemy. Yes. Show him forgiveness.
Great. Great. Jimmy, the back page of The Nation today.
Yes.
Treasury borrowing up by 168 billion on low tax netted. The government is raising its borrowing target for the current financial year by 168 billion on projection of lower tax collection that has seen ordinary revenue forecast revised down by 210 billion shillings.
Are you telling me that the Treasury is admitting that the ambitious tax targets are off the mark? And that, as we had predicted earlier, the Laffer curve set in. You raise taxes to an extent that you get diminishing revenue, declining revenue, because you have taxed everybody out of the market. Are we seeing that admission? Had we not talked about this all the way back in, I think, August?
Probably. Or
July
probably
last
their
year.
target was unrealistic ab initio.
Yes.
You cannot raise 2 billion shillings in 1 year and then the next one you expect to raise 3 billion shillings miraculously, growing it by 3 trillion. Just like that.
So what you're saying, I saw the president in his interview talk about over 70% of his revenue is going to debt. So what you're admitting, in fact, our figure now is about 78%. What you are saying is that this revenue is not forthcoming and that we are going to face the crisis we have been predicting over 1 year now, which is the crisis of default. If you recall, when we had our first session here, Ghana had defaulted at 70%. And it had very similar circumstances to ours. Very similar. And we have the head of state admitting that that is where we are today. Over 70%. Sri Lanka collapsed towards 90%. Lebanon, 80%. Argentina, 80%. Zambia, 80%. We can keep going on.
80% of what?
80% of revenue going to debt. So we are at a situation where it is inevitable that our predictions of debt default are coming. And in fact, I think it is now common knowledge in the market for anybody who is dealing first and foremost with domestic bonds. This year, because it's interesting to see those figures in the nation, this financial year, Parliament passed loans, foreign and external loans of 313 billion. But a month later, the National Treasury gazetted external loans of 870 billion and domestic loans of 690 billion, bringing their total debt this financial year to almost 1.6 trillion. So I don't know whether they are trying to adjust themselves to slowly ease in some facts which are not quite true in relation to the budget. But what Treasury did and what the National Assembly did were two different things. So it's like we have two budgets. Now, if you see the domestic debt of 690, they have 374 billion shillings that is going towards redemptions. Those are rollovers of debt previously taken, maturities. Now, what I'm understanding, and I think this may have been triggered by a lot of our discussions, may have been triggered by the amount of tax revenue going to debt, the questions of insolvency, But one of the biggest triggers was in November, where Standard Chartered Bank said 52% of our bonds we are liquidating, even if it's at a loss of about 2 billion shillings. And it has continually done that. Other banks are following suit. So what is happening now is that this 374 billion in redemptions, people don't want to roll over. They want their cash. Bondholders, whether it's banks, insurance companies, pensions, individuals, want their cash. And that has precipitated a total drawdown on the overdraft facility at CBK, because when government does not have cash to pay those redemptions, it takes an overdraft at CBK.
And what's the limit at CBK?
It is 5% of the previous year's audited accounts. So that is 91 billion. Today, it is at 95 billion. It is at 95. So they have no more leeway.
And the redemptions are 378.
Yes, they have no more leeway. So I can tell you in the next month or two, as a maximum, you are going to have a crisis on domestic debt of untold proportions.
What would that mean? And this is the thing. You know, we talk about some of these things, Jimmy. We say, oh, domestic debt, and it sounds really
complicated.
I mean, my goodness. So how does that play out? What do we see when we say we're going to have a crisis on domestic debt?
It means a default.
Meaning, how does the average Kenyan CT feel it? How do you feel it when you say that there's a crisis of domestic debt? Kenya has defaulted on its payment responsibility. What would that mean?
What does that mean? A pain of untold proportion. And it starts this way. The first thing with a crisis of domestic debt is a bank crisis. You have an immediate banking crisis. The banks are threatened with the possibility of closure. Now, in countries like Lebanon, in countries like Argentina, banks closed. Lebanon closed from 2019 until earlier last year. So it means that you have no access to your revenue of your money. You have no transactions you can do with local banks. That's a huge crisis. To save banks from closing, Ghana did what you call debt distress exchange. So they said, we are going to remove a certain amount of people's deposits, a certain amount of your bonds, of your debts, and pass it on to you and I, the sovereign. In Ghana, it was 30%. So if you had deposits in your bank of 10,000 shillings,
you give it 3.
You 3 went. If you had foreign exchange, it was turned into shillings immediately, and 30% was removed. Now in Ghana, it has gone to 35%. They increased another 5%. Now, it then creates what you call an inflation year in September.
How exactly does that help the government? You have reduced, essentially you've plummeted the value of whatever it is that I have by 30%. That's not even 30% not reduction, it's plummeting.
It's plummeting, yes.
Yes. So how does that help the government?
You see, who is the sovereign?
The people.
So who is responsible for the debt? Right. So they come for you. Just like this government is coming for you for taxation. It is raising its tax because it has that debt to deal with. It comes for you. It's very simple. So the government is merely trying to survive. Merely trying to survive. And what happens is that this is done with other creditors, where they say you have both domestic and foreign debt. Let us see what the sovereign is prepared to swallow with their local debt. Then we, as IMF, as so on and so forth, will look to see how we can assist you with your external debt, which is them. All right? That's how it begins. Now, thereafter, I think it's important to understand, you have an inflation rate that goes to the extent, because nobody wants your currency. Even you don't want to hold on to your local currency.
Yes.
So in Ghana, the cedi lost value to about 50%. That was the inflation rate. 50%. So you tell me mwananchi and cost of living. All right? That means cost of living, whatever you can see today, will go up 50% as a minimum. But that didn't stop there. You immediately had a foreign and exchange rate problem. It lost its value to the extent of almost 80%. We are sweating today here of an exchange rate that in 1 year has lost 28% of its value. You imagine anything above that? And tell me about cost of living. What do you think the cost of petrol will be? What will you ever be able to afford here? So you are talking about a major crisis. You then have what you call a mobile banking crisis, an electronic crisis. So your M-Pesa will be deducted. Anytime you transact, whether you deposit or you send, you'll find you have the same 30% deductions. All right? And it may stop for a while. Because unless it is negotiated well enough, there'll be no backing in order to support those transactions. So you're talking about a major cash flow problem for each and every one of us in this country.
Unfolding.
Unfolding.
Armageddon.
Very, very, very soon.
And that's the outlook for 2020.
It is very soon.
Yes, very soon. I mean, a lot of the people I'm talking to are predicting the next 6 months. I believe we'll see a crisis in the next 3 months.
Jimmy, when you were here at the beginning, the first quarter of last year, I've been keeping quiet because what I'm hearing here today, I heard it Q1 last year. And you predicted that, you know what, in fact, by July, you guys, things will be so bad. It's a year later, Jimmy. It hasn't happened.
Yes.
Actually, it has.
And now you're saying it's going to happen again in the next 3 months.
Actually, it has. It has.
Those things specifically have not happened, City.
No. The magnitude that he speaks of, we have not experienced. But it's not just the clouds. We've actually had rainfall. You know how we say we're just seeing the impending rain and there are dark clouds? The raindrops, and these are big drops, they've actually started falling.
So explain to me how they happened.
Let me tell you what I am seeing.
Has there been a haircut on your deposits in the bank?
No, wait, Eric.
Let me tell you what I am seeing, okay? Every time we have talked about cost of living and not being able to afford, and why this conversation has refused to move away, is because we keep being told our shilling has lost value, plus the cost of what we need to live keeps going up. And then we also see the so-called value of the shilling sliding against the other currencies that are supposed to be major currencies in the planet. But the signs that cause me the greatest worry is with our external debt. When I see the Bretton Woods institutions, the people, there's always news about them coming in to help us, coming in to do this. Now, the sort of help we get is not the regular loan where somebody is going to borrow, because it looks like we're not just limping. We have a problem and somebody needs to seriously come in to assist us, because without this, we're going to tumble. Now, that is my interpretation. Now, when that happens, I feel, how bad are things really? Because,
yes.
Good.
There is
now,
no...
Let me compliment what CT has said. First and foremost, I don't recall July. I remember September.
Yes, it was September.
It was September. My target was September, after the first budget of this regime. And you can see I am not too wrong. Tell me if any county has been paid their dues in the new budget.
What do you mean by dues?
You know, there is something called a first charge. All right? First charge items on the revenue are debt, county, and pensions. Since the new budget, I want you to tell me how much money has gone to counties, and it's a first charge before salaries of government. So government has defaulted on that expenditure. It has not remitted money to counties.
On time.
What do you mean on time? Find out how much has been remitted. Apart from salaries that have been going to counties, please tell me a lump sum percentage of the 385 billion that is supposed to be paid in this financial year as revenue share to counties. The president himself said they are delayed with salaries. They are rolling over and they are paying salaries very late. Okay? They are very clearly having a huge increase in pending bills. They are defaulting on pending bills. A lot of them. The same government came out and said they are going to pay the Eurobond. And they were going to pay part of it by December.
Yes.
Why have they not paid it? Because the people they expected to finance it, can you imagine we are financing the principal? We don't have the cash. The people who are expecting to finance it are saying we want liability management. Liability management is debt distress. And they started saying it in November. October, November, and December.
Who are these people?
Trade Development Bank, for example. Standard Chartered Bank. All right? Those, all of them, they tried to group them up together. And they said we want liability management, which is distress, debt distress exchange. So it is here with us.
Okay.
It is here with us. We may be wrong in terms of a month or two, but I can assure you, just like City has articulated, it is here with us. It is our clear and present danger. It is what is affecting each and every one of our lives every single day, making life unbearable for us.
Sure. I mean, I have a number of questions, but one of them is that, we see what's happening. It's very clear. You don't have to do much to figure out how much this pinch is at the moment. And what you're saying is that it can get worse. But interestingly, not too long ago, the Deputy President said, we've done everything that we need to do to remove Kenya from the brink of falling over the edge, right? And then the President, not too long after that, then actually said, you know what? We have stopped. We've put all the things in place to make sure that Kenya does not tip over towards a debt crisis. So as far as they're concerned, or it could be propaganda, but as far as they're concerned, everything that they needed to do to make sure that Kenya does not get to the place that you're talking about has already been done. It's like now the antibiotic has been administered and we're waiting for those few days where you're going to feel groggy and gross until the medicine starts to work.
Okay, are you telling me you believe them?
I'm just telling you what they said.
Okay, because I can assure you of something. that is very similar language to that was done by the Minister of Finance and the President of Ghana from May 2022, and they defaulted in December. Same language. In fact, when they were defaulting, they said it will not even harm the Ghanaian. Right? This is something the government can manage. That is similar language that you're talking about. But the reality, we are living it. The reality is the shilling is still losing value, as City said. The reality is they are coming back and hitting us for more and more taxation. Now they even want to hit the farmer for every 100 shillings he earns. They want to take 5 shillings. They're hitting everybody more and more. And right now, the reality is that banks, large bondholders, small bondholders are saying, we do not want rollover. It is now too risky to hold on to government debt and government paper, which tells you the signs are there. The clouds are clear. It is about to rain.
Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 9. Jimmy Wanjege is our guest today. We're talking about 2024 and the economic outlook. He says, first quarter, first sign of default will be clear as sky. Okay. We'll engage more on this after this break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
They really take me back to my days, and I can just feel and enjoy the vibes.
Spice.
I'm a big listener of SpiceFM.
You play the best music.
This is 94.4 Spice FM.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman. Another man marries trouble.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It will die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same
Bukati,
IBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's the, like you said, the bees and the peas. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema yeye anasema opposite. Opposite.
Just trying to peek through those clouds in Nairobi. It's 18 degrees, highs of 24 and lows of 15. 16 will be the low in a sunny Nakuru, going to highs of 26. And we'll see lows of 15 and highs of 24 in Nyeri. Eldoret is sunny at 16 with highs of 24 and into a sunny Mombasa 27. And Malindi is sunny at 29. 23 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 27, while Kakamega is sunny at 21, going to highs of 29, rather 28 and lows of 18. The light rain continues in Kampala at 21 with highs of 28, while Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny at 28 with highs of 31. 18 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg with highs of 24, while we're looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 27 and a partly sunny Addis Ababa at 12. Lagos is clear at 26 with highs of 33, while Kinshasa is cloudy at 25, going to highs of 32.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So how about we look for where there's no traffic this morning, and there's no traffic on parts of Ngong Road. But then you're, left. Even Dennis Prit, there's traffic this morning as you're trying to get out towards James Gishuru, which is really, really slow as you're getting out towards Westlands. Ring Road Westlands, an absolute mess, in and outbound, and then touching on Waiaki Way coming in from James. We were looking for where there's no traffic. Sorry. Nothing. Everywhere is packed this morning at a few minutes after 8:30. We're in traffic hour proper. Let's see if you can avoid where you don't need to be today so we don't make it worse. Find alternate routes to use, especially if you're coming off some of these parts. Kiambu Road, go the long way. You'll be better for it. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're looking at our financial situation and debt situation as a country. So, Jimmy, just looking back again, in last year, the signs that you said, let's look out for these signs. And you're comparing with what has happened elsewhere. This is lived experience by the people of Ghana. We even hosted a member of parliament from Ghana who came and gave us actual practical experience that he himself had gone through. And some of those things were a situation where the government would talk and talk as if things are okay, and until they reach the end of the tether.
Correct.
And the next thing that they had to do was to now do the things that you've said. Look at, okay, as a sovereign, the kind of money that I owe you, first of all, I'm rolling over the debt. Number two, I'm looking at the amount of savings that you have. I need to, shave off some of that money and to look into raiding people's pockets. And he said, this is what's going to happen before the end of 2023. Why do you think it did not happen before the end of 2023?
Well, with everything, you have a plus or minus error margin. But principally, the government just has defaulted on all its other commitments. I give you the example of counties. They have put out an image that IMF and World Bank are saving them. And these are false images because we know the reality of drawing down on that debt. Let me be very clear.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very clear about what you call odious debt. We have a very unique position. And I said, if this government continues to pay debt that is not legal, we are going to default. And they continue to do so. And that default is of their own making. Today, I will not blame the previous regime, I will blame this regime. It is of their own making. They have chosen this path of self-destruction. And that destruction means we are also going to get destroyed. But I want to tell them this, because this reality is coming. And this pain that is going to come to us, we are not going to accept or believe that they are the ones who are now going to be capable of taking us out of it. We will not. Ghana is probably the only country where a head of state has survived in power out of default. And he survived only because he has 2 years, he has elections this year. He pleaded to try and exit with some honor. But every other country, they are removed. Even here, that is coming. And I say it is their conscious decision, a decision they have made themselves, that we will pay this odious debt and will continue sinking Kenya.
You've said something, and if you just make a linkage, and Kenya could default or headed down the road of default. And the reason for this is because Kenya is paying illegal debts.
Correct.
Okay. Now, it seems as though you've been saying these things over and over again. Over the weekend, CS for Lands, Alice Wahome, said a number of things. I don't know, were you in Nyeri when she was, were you there?
I was with her in Kiambu, in Kino, in Kikuyu constituency on Friday.
Okay, on Friday. And then she said, Jimmy Wajigi, keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
You know, we hear you. Continue doing what you're doing. It sounded as though, you know, you can be in your corner saying what you need to say, but we're going to continue doing it because you're keeping people righteous. But what you're saying is beyond just holding a bullhorn in a crowd somewhere and hoping somebody pays attention. But we're talking about serious stuff here that could essentially sink this nation. So it's not a matter of keep doing what you're doing and somebody patting you on the back and saying, okay, keep people righteous, but saying you actually look at what you've been doing, stop what you're doing, otherwise Kenya is going to the dogs.
Let me assure you of something here, and I don't see in all essence how we are such a unique country that every country that has reached this stage where you have all your revenue, literally almost all your revenue going to pay debt, has had to default. But Kenya is so special. Somehow we are so special, we are going to avoid it. Right? And that default is extremely painful. Now, we have sung this for over 1 year, that this is the danger ahead. And it's because you are paying this debt. They have refused to listen. So they are consciously taking us to that situation of collapse. They are, in fact, with a lot of zeal, making sure that they come and cause us even more pain by taking more and more of our money in taxation, frustrating every business you can think of, every producer you can think of, right? To pay this odious debt, this illegal debt, and still collapsing us. They are making that conscious decision. Now, I want to tell you something. We will give them no time because we are getting there. I can tell you here, we will give them no time to imagine that we believe they can get us out of it.
So what will you do?
Oh, no government, I'm telling you here, other than Ghana the other day, stays in power. And you will remember this. You know, these are extraordinary circumstances, City. Extraordinary circumstances in this country. We have never been here before.
No, we haven't.
And I can tell you, this government has refused to rise up, as Ndu is saying, to these extraordinary times and make difficult decisions.
Is it capable?
No, it is not. It is not.
What would happen if we refuse to pay the odious debt?
What immediately happens, and I was suggesting this to somebody I was with from government a few days ago. What immediately happens is the following. Is that you say, we can afford to pay what is not odious. That one, put it aside, we are going to pay it. But we need to audit it. Because as I also have said from before, we are clearly, in my view, have overpaid this debt. So we need to have checks and balances on this, our figures. So we need to say what is legitimate, pass through our parliament, is in our budget, we shall pay. What is odious, we put aside. And investigate its payments and declare it odious. Now, what will happen is that you have a crisis, but for a much shorter period. With a decisive leadership, within a matter of no more than 6 months, this matter will be sorted out for most Kenyans. But we don't have a decisive leadership. We have a leadership that is frightened to make this decision. We have a leadership that is captured by interests of this odious debt. We have a leadership that has refused to rise up to the occasion of these extraordinary circumstances.
Let me ask another question, Jimmy. What percentage of our debts is comprised of the odious debt?
In our view,
yes,
70%.
Oh, Jimmy.
Yes.
7 trillion shillings.
70%, yes. Let me update you. Let me update you. When we started screaming about debt,
it was 9
It was
trillion.
at 8.4. July 2022. Today, January, it is at 11 trillion. Even after paying 1.9 trillion, 1.3 up to 1.3, 1.4 up to July, August, and another 500 between then and now. So we paid about 2 trillion, and it is now at 11. A lot of that is because of loss of exchange. All right? I think you have 1 trillion something because of loss of exchange. And that is not going to change. But you can see the trajectory keeps going like this. And yet we are still being taxed. And yet it is doing more and more of our revenue as a percentage of its return.
Your estimation is that 70% of that 11 trillion is odious debt.
Remember,
odious debt is debt that is taken without the authority of the sovereign, the people
and
of the
I'm
country,
trying to combine it
or
with
going to the
interest and very
benefit of
many
the
things.
people.
I think you, when I was last here, I gave a very clear figure of what is deficit, which is debt. I told you we had done the accounts of the country. So you take our revenue. How much revenue had we collected, tax revenue actuals, over the last 10 years? It was 13.3 trillion. What was our expenditure? Our expenditure, we categorized this way over the last 10 years. This is up to June 2023. We categorized this way. Development was 6 trillion. What was the county expenditure? Over 10 years. What were the salaries over 10 years? What were the operations? What were the pensions over 10 years? We removed debt payments. And that came to 14.6 trillion. So our deficit was about 1.2, 1.3 trillion over 10 years. Do you know how much we borrowed? 7.7 trillion.
For what?
6.5 trillion above what was required, which is like 60 years worth of debt in advance that we pay today. It was not needed. That is the odious debt. What was it needed for? What did it fund? It didn't fund any shortfall that we had. So what was it? Now, there's no way we can pay it. There's no way we can ever pay it.
But the journey for refusal to pay this debt that has been incurred to by the government to whoever has lent us the money has to start somewhere.
Yes.
Has to start by looking at, first, was it legally acquired?
Correct.
Through legal instruments?
Correct.
So were there legal instruments that were breached in the acquisition of this debt?
Absolutely. There were legal instruments that were continually breached.
Which?
It was not in the budget. It was never passed by parliament. It was never in the appropriations bill, which is the budget. It never went as a line item to be expended for any project in this country because you can only borrow for development. In the short term, you can borrow from the overdraft and bills, which are 1 year. Full stop. Right? So these bonds, for example, that the banks have given the government, what project did they fund? Because they are medium term to long term. What have they funded? Nothing. They don't exist. What did the Eurobond fund? Show me where it is a line item in the budget. We came here and we explained to you and showed you what SGR was about.
So the instruments that we use to ascertain all these things, Jimmy, number one would be the budget making process, and this is
the
Parliament.
Law. The law.
Okay.
The law.
If it has not gone through Parliament, then it has. This is an expenditure that has been made without the authority of the sovereign.
Correct.
Through their representatives in Parliament.
Correct.
Then number two, lack of tracking that this has gone to the benefit of the people would be the Auditor General's reports.
Correct.
That would highlight that I do not see
what it was expended for,
where this money has gone to.
Correct.
Do we have those corresponding reports from the Auditor General that actually show there's a 6 trillion shillings here that has not gone to be expended in accordance with the law?
I can
that then can
you.
be used to say this is odious debt. Or do we just use our own calculations?
No, I can assure you these were their records that we have looked at.
Whose
and
records?
all we removed, the budget, the treasury records and the Auditor General. All we have removed is debt payments. Remove all the debt payments. That's all. And that is the figure. And what we have done is something very unique. It's called a forensic audit. A forensic audit is not just a sabu. It is to look at the law and where it has been flouted. You look at every expenditure in relation to the law, the Constitution. I'll give you an example, because we've done it also with the housing levy, which is a very current debate. Right? You tell me where Parliament has approved the housing levy, Article 220(221) of the Constitution, which says expenditure and revenue estimates. Show me the revenue or expenditure estimates of the housing levy. It doesn't exist. Show me in the appropriations bill where the housing levy is there. It doesn't exist. Show me in the Ministry of Housing where there's a line item called low-cost housing development. Doesn't exist. Does not exist. The only place housing levy exists is in the finance bill.
Is in the collection.
As a levy in the collection. But to be spent on what? Estimated on what? There's not even an estimate. In the revenue estimate, they should have done, we expect to collect so much. Like now, fuel levy, it is there. It does not exist. So this government is perpetuating the things of the past. Are you telling me that it is legal? It is not. A judge called Majanja even gets rights and says, okay, they didn't put the revenue estimates, but it's in the appropriation bill, and even quotes the appropriation bill. Where? Which appropriation? The one he's quoted, it doesn't exist. It does not exist.
What do you mean?
It is not there.
And so what you're
the
saying,
one he quoted is not there. So we are saying, what is this fraud?
So let's look at
from Parliament to the executive to the judges. What is this fraud?
Jimmy, let's look at the other side of it, because we're saying that it does not exist because it is not there. Now, we're not looking at a vacuum or an empty black hole, right? We are looking at a system whereby anything that is going to be borrowed, spent, will then actually show up.
It's called public finance management.
Exactly.
But where does it show up?
So we're
How is the control of budget, for example, removing that money for housing finance?
Sure. So we're saying that if it then were a part of this appropriations, public finance, if it was there, and if it was if it followed the due diligence, that it would actually then be there for everybody to see.
Yes.
So because it is not there, cannot be found, according to what you're saying, then there's something hodgy-podgy going on.
Correct. So 9 billion has been collected on housing. How has it been spent? Because they say it has been spent. How has it been spent?
Has it?
There's no line item. There's no line item.
Has it been spent?
That's what they say. They say there's buildings going on. They have workers on the ground. It has been spent. How has it been spent? This is the impunity and the illegalities which we are talking about. They are still being perpetuated. Still being perpetuated. And it is illegal. Okay? Now, why should we as Kenyans support anything that is illegal. In Malaysia, when this was brought out with the 1 MDB, which was $3.9 billion, they went to London, court, and they said, I'm sorry, this thing is fake. It was refunded by Goldman Sachs in full. The tuna bond, same thing. They had their own courts in Mozambique, and they sorted it out. Here, we are going to court to get clarity, and we are being called saboteurs. People are being called saboteurs. And judges are being called, I don't know what names. The law is not being followed in this country. It is becoming a huge fraud, and has become a huge fraud. What a government is doing, and I say government because I want to include parliament in this too, is illegalities that are costing and collapsing the economy of this country. Untold proportions. Untold proportions.
Okay, Jimmy, back to my question. When we declare odious debt, right? An odious debt cannot just be declared because somebody is holding the sword and is the president in State House or any other office for that matter. There has to be something that supports it, that then goes and says, we are going to breach this contract that we entered into as the government of Kenya and you who lent us this money because of these other conditions, right?
Yes.
Now, that's what I was saying. For us to get to that level, we have to establish that indeed this is odious.
Yes.
It was illegally procured.
Yes.
That means Parliament was not involved. The people of Kenya were not involved.
Yes.
And number two, even after it was procured, it was misappropriated. It did not go to any project that can be quoted and said, this is where the money went to. It did not benefit the sovereign. Right?
Yes.
And you're saying, as a government, the one thing that you expected the government to do was to declare this odious debt and say, because of this, we cannot track it, we cannot pay it, let's have a conversation with you. We don't know this debt.
Yes. Absolutely.
How would you get there if you were the president? How would you get to that point?
I can tell you.
What would you use
yes.
as your evidence
yes.
that can stand before international law to say, we, the people of Kenya, are not going to pay you the money that you're claiming we owe you?
I, in the run-up to running for president last year, did a forensic audit. I bothered to do some homework. And I believe I did the first forensic audit of our national debt. And we did it thoroughly. I went on TV. I bought advertising space to ring the bell on the danger. Up to date, no government official has called me to ask me, where is that forensic audit? We look at it. And it's the first ever. It's not like the audit of the Auditor General. This is a forensic audit by a forensic auditor, qualified. So we have got the evidence that it is fake. I came here and I explained to you very simple figures of a project called SGR.
Okay, let me stop you there because you've started answering my question, but then you're digressing a bit. Had you gone through into the presidential election, had you been elected as the president of Kenya, with your forensic audit booklets,
yes,
the huge voluminous books that
yes.
you have, all right? What would you have done next?
Oh,
so yes, you have this audit. You have the audit.
I would have made the very clear decision.
Technically,
yes.
What would you have done?
I would have very clearly said, this odious debt, put it aside, we're not paying it. We're not paying it.
Yeah, but Jimmy, it can't just be because.
And all those who believe that it is payable, come here and tell us which law you followed. Right? Because it's called buyer beware. Which law did you follow to give Kenya this money? Show us what it has funded.
Essentially, tell us why it is Kenya owes this money and why they should pay for it. But let me ask this question.
And I can assure you something, CT. If you get into what has really happened between Treasury and Central Bank, you'll find that it funded nothing. It has just been something called a Ponzi scheme.
I want to ask this question.
So what would you have done? So I still haven't.
I clearly would not pay it.
No. Eric, are you asking what process?
Yes, I
What
want to know the
process? What would you do?
You can't just wake up one day because the president has said, "Oh, by the way, Kenya is not going to pay any more debt." Because I don't see how you.
No.
And if you think I owe you, come.
There is what is called threshold for ODS debt, and I would say that the forensic audit we have done, which we would like adopted by the different government agencies, that is something you give Auditor General to say, even commission your own forensic auditor, because he's not a forensic auditor. She's not a forensic auditor, right? And say, please, let us make sure it concurs. You've had the COB on this show, said we don't even know what this debt is anymore. We don't even have a debt register. It's amorphous inside there. You tell people go inside because now you have the power to tell people to go inside and verify the forensic audit we have done. Once it is verified, because it will take a very short time, these are numbers that are open for everybody. Once it is verified, I can assure you of something. We would not pay the odious debt. And it would bring our tax to revenue targets in terms of how much tax we are taking to pay debt to no more than about 30%. And that would free Kenyans. Free Kenyans. We would reduce this taxation, okay, and institute what is called supply side growth, where government is not the driver of everything, right? The private sector will then have access to a lot of credit, cheap credit, to do things. I'll just...
Let's do the news first.
Okay.
And then stay on. Let's do the news first. Jimmy Wanjege stays on. Let's hear what he explains in terms of our odious debt and our debt situation in the country. 9 a.m.
Education Ezekiel Machogo said that approximately 9,000 grade 8 students who registered for the KCPE exams last year did not take it, although the government has managed to identify only 2,000 of them. As a result, the Minister of Education has decided that they will not sit the exam and will join high schools, even though they will be required to take the exam to allow them sit the KCSE exams.
The council has only been able to trace 2,000 eligible runners. Since the number so far allocated is more to warrant a national examination, it has been decided that the 2,000 candidates join Form 1 starting January 8th, January 15th, that is next week, and be allowed to sit qualifying examination later. They will, however, be advised to ensure they sit the individual qualifying examinations by the time they join Form 3 to enable them be registered to sit the KCSE examination at Form 4.
The government has begun a mandatory nationwide security vetting, training and licensing of all private security personnel, including bouncers, bodyguards, event stewards, crowd control security personnel, among others. In a notice dated January 8th, the Private Security Regulatory Authority CEO Fazil Mohammed said no person shall be allowed to engage in the provision of private security services unless they have been security vetted, registered and licensed. The move comes following an incident where journalists and officers from the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse were assaulted during a raid at Kettle House Bar and Grill in Lavington, Nairobi. Nakada had conducted the sting operation to curb shisha smoking at the popular entertainment joint. The Ministry of Lands and Housing has invited members of the public to purchase ready units constructed under the government's affordable housing project in Bondeni, Nakuru County. In an advertisement, interested buyers are being advised to visit the site for viewing and later register on the Bomayang portal to purchase their units of choice. The ministry stated that 2-bedroom units measuring 64 square meters will be going for 3.15 million shillings, while 3-bedroom units measuring 85 square meters will cost 4.25 million shillings. Buyers will be required to pay a 10% deposit to qualify for the purchase. Once qualified, a buyer will be offered a rent-to-own home loan at a monthly rate of 16,997 shillings for the 2-bedroom house and 22,933 shillings for the 3-bedroom house. And US authorities have detained a person near the White House who crashed a vehicle into an exterior gate of the presidential mansion complex. This is according to the Secret Service. President Joe Biden was out of town at the time of the incident, and security officials did not say whether it was a traffic accident or intended as an attack. The crash is believed to have occurred on the northeast side of the complex, given the Giuliani said they expect rather traffic implications at the 15th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue. And Pope Francis has called for a global ban on parenting via surrogacy, calling the practice deplorable and a grave violation of the dignity of the woman and the child. Francis' remarks are likely to antagonize pro-LGBTQ+ groups, since surrogacy is often used by gay or lesbian partners who want to have children and follow his landmarkization to allow priests to bless same-sex couples. And Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba has backed Shujaa to return to the prestigious HSBC World Rugby 7 Series as they kickstart their journey at the Challenger Series set for January 12th to 14th in Dubai. Shujaa lost their core status for the first time in 2 decades last year after an underwhelming campaign. While flagging off Shujaa and their female counterparts Lionesses ahead of their trip to Dubai, Namwamba implored on the teams to put in strong performance in the series. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Traffic still pretty heavy on the Thika Superhighway that's coming into the city, and on Limuru Road. Kiambu Road is also pretty busy. Ring Road Gara today has been an absolute mess. Coming in through General Waroingi, which at that junction of Carrier Core. There's traffic there as coming out towards the city, and that's going to continue for some time from all we can see. Let's look west towards Muranga Road. Now, there's traffic coming on then towards Globe Cinema at the roundabout. That's crazy. And then coming out of Westlands, James Gishuru, Ring Road Westlands, everybody then touching on Waiyaki Way coming out towards Chiromo. That is all still doing the business for now. On Gong Road, it's busy as well. We're looking at traffic coming in from Lavington, coming into James Gishuru, Mzima Springs, and all of this. Still deep in traffic hour. We're going to keep an eye on things and see how they pan out. It's probably going to be like this for a couple more days. SpiceFM KE on X as we keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
After 9, our conversation continues. Jimmy Wanjeki is still here with us and reminding Jimmy. So, Jimmy, you've committed that, yes, you're going to buy a couple of kiwis.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
For the reason that if they get into a draw and there's some 35,000 shillings won towards school fees, then you'll decide who benefits.
Absolutely.
So, Ndio.
Yes.
It's a beautiful thing.
In fact, if I could buy here, I would buy.
Yeah?
No. We'll send you to the shop.
Send you to a couple of stores.
But our shop here, these ones are for display purposes only.
Maybe you should open. You're doing such a good advert for them. You should open a duka here.
In fact, we'll tell them, Kiwi just send us a couple. So when Jimmy comes here, he's immediately.
Hapo.
Yes. Tunaingia draw. Yes. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah, Yeah,
right?
you can decide. It's great because then you can decide which school it would go to if you get it, or somebody that you would want to then be able to give it to. So that's the great thing about this campaign. It's not pegged to you who's buying the tin, and it can go and support somebody else. But Kiwi says step up and shine. Walk into supermarket, pick up a tin of Kiwi, dial the code *459 *5#. You send that in with the code that's under the lid. You get instant airtime or data. Enter into the draw. 35,000 shillings is being won by 4 people every week to make sure school fees is not a thing.
It's Kiwi. City, somebody's asking, so they've gone to the App Store and they're finding many Maramojas. Which one do they download? Maramoja Transport Company.
Then there's a blue.
There's the blue one.
Kuna rangi mingi. Blue. That one.
Download the blue one.
That's the one you download.
Okay.
Yes.
And once you download, it's a simple registration process.
Oh, it's actually not difficult.
What do they ask for? Are they asking like for the ETA? Send us your bank statement, your hotel number, your
part of your spleen.
No. KRA compliance. Hakuna vitu kama hizo.
mambo.
No. Just straightforward. Your phone number, email address. You're done.
That's it.
They don't want to know how old you are. They don't want to know how many children you have. They don't want to know how many wives you have. Once you've done that,
just name.
That's it.
Your phone number, email address.
And you're in the system.
Right.
Yes, and you're ready to go. Now it's a question of when it is you want to utilize the facility. Yes.
Just simple as that.
It's not complicated in the very least, but you also need to have a phone. It helps.
Okay? And a smartphone at that.
A smartphone at that. Yes, it helps.
Perhaps.
All right. If you have a smartphone, you just go to your Apple Play Store, Google Play Store, Apple App Store, download Maramoja Transport Company Limited. The blue one, the blue icon. Click on that one, download that. Simple registration, put your name, put your email address, put your telephone number, and then start using the app. And if you use the code SPICE30, you get a 30% discount on your next ride. Like that. And we're not saying that one person just gets one use. No, just keep using the code SPICE30. Imagine. It's as simple as that. So, Jimmy.
Yes.
The proverb again, let CT remind you.
The proverb again in the language of Kiswahili is adui angukapo muinue.
When the enemy falls, lift him up.
Yes, you have to distinguish. Not this amorphous thing that Jim was talking about, enemy friend. No. Friend. Not enemy friend. This one is enemy. Somebody who doesn't wish you well.
Yes.
And has demonstrated that they don't mean well for you. That one. When they collapse, resist that urge to step on their necks. Okay?
Yeah.
Help them up.
Yeah. And like Jimmy gave his interpretation of it, we have a higher calling.
He put it
too
well.
good.
He put it
no
really
point.
Well. He put it really well.
I actually wrote it down. We have a greater purpose than just being vengeful and unforgiving.
Oh, he put it very, very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So pay all the debts.
Pay all
that
the
question. Just so we can then pick up on where we left it.
Yes.
You say, if you were president, the first thing that you do is say, all right, so these institutions that have the mandate, the Office of the Auditor General and the others, please investigate the veracity forensically this debt. And if they find that the debt then has questions, what would be the next steps?
The next step would be the following. That is odious, because I believe they would find debt that is not legal to us Kenyans. We set aside and not pay. And immediately thereafter, a public inquiry, whether you want to call it state capture, whether you want to call it public inquiry into just that, like the Bosire Commission was done for Goldenberg, a public inquiry with a view of prosecutory powers would be instituted to find out how we commissioned that debt, how we got that debt, what happened, who is culpable, and how we must get back any money we have paid to that illegal debt. And if that means we end up going to London for some of those cases, we do so. Because if we have paid money that is illegal, it must come back to us. If it never came to our benefit, it must come back to us. But I can assure you of one thing. With a knockoff of maybe 70%, you are saying then that our debt servicing ratio will be about 30%. So within our budget,
we can afford that.
We can afford to pay without any new borrowings, we can afford to pay all our expenditure. We can afford to pay any of that debt we can pay. And we can fund development without having to borrow from anybody.
Okay.
We are strong enough. And we would be the biggest catalyst to what you call supply side economics. We would then boost the private sector. Because if we are not doing any new borrowings, that means even domestic banks will have money to give the private sector. And lots of it. Lots of it.
Then Jimmy,
You imagine if you're going to now borrow. Today you're borrowing at over 20%. Some banks are now even charging almost close to 30%.
Yeah.
You imagine if you are borrowing at 5%. Mama Mboga is taking 1 million shillings loan and paying 50,000 interest a year. What can they not afford? If you are talking about these locals housing, how many people will not build? It will be there. That is private sector business, not government.
the way you're explaining it, Jimmy, that sounds like the easier route to take.
Yes.
Just go, establish that this is odious debt, don't pay it, reduce that whole burden of where you're going to get money to pay this debt, reduce that whole conversation that you have to go around the globe having conversations on how you're going to be supported to then show up your economy. So why would an elected leader not do that? I mean, because you are made from the same cloth, you people who want to be president.
No, we are not. We are not.
To be president.
No, please. We are not made from the same cloth. No. First and foremost, I've never been elected to any office. I've never been elected to any office, even as an MCA. None. I am fresh.
Why would a leader not want to take that route? Why would a leader spend sleepless nights?
I'll tell you.
Why?
Because this particular leader was there when this was happening. This particular leader has put at the helm of both the Treasury and CBK the people who were there 10 years ago when all this began. What change agent do you have here? You don't have a change agent. That's why the impunity is continuing. He's refused to rise up to these extraordinary times, maybe for fear that it will catch up to him, or friends, or associates, God knows.
So, Jimmy,
but he has refused to rise up. That's why we are saying, I would have been very fresh because there's nothing here that attaches me to any of this malfeasance. It would be very easy for me to make that decision.
You would have found out that some of your friends, very close
no, that
friends,
is yes, but there's 50 million Kenyans.
Jimmy, you've been
those friends more important than the other 50 million? They are not.
They're not.
They are not.
So, you've been very public in your assertions, right? Why has there been no public contestation of these things that you've been saying?
That I wish you could ask them that question. That is a question I wish you could ask them. What I saw, and let me take it from the president himself is in his interview, is that he has admitted for the first time 70%, above 70% of our revenue is going to debt. And he has said that's why he cannot lower taxes. That's why he's causing this pain. That's why he's being called Zakayo, because of that problem. That is confirmation that we are talking the right language. We've been saying the right thing. So people must be afraid of either challenging me or bringing these facts to bear. Maybe they don't know how much more I've got if they challenge me. God knows. Better ask them.
Something I want to understand. Yeah? Let's say this thing that doesn't look like it's going to happen with this particular government does happen, and we go through the process and declare odious debt. It's not as though overnight everything now will become rosy. It's not as though there won't be challenges to that declaration. What is likely to happen? And countries that were in the same murky situation as us, and when they declared it, if there's a lived experience one can look at, what then happens before you actually write yourself and now you're on a path towards prosperity?
Well, let me say this. I think this government has lost the initiative of that because it has been paying the odious debt.
Yes.
So they have great difficulty drawing back from it. But for argument's sake, if we were the ones who were doing it, there's no doubt it would cause some shocks
Yes,
some shocks in the local market, some shocks in the overseas market. But the confidence I had is when we did the numbers, you can see our deficit is very small. It's about 1.2 trillion, 1.3 trillion over 10 years. If you look at our development budget, it was 6 trillion. So even if we were to say we remove development of 1.3 trillion and we do development of 5 trillion over 10 years, we'll still be a big catalyst to the economy. In other words, we can survive without this money.
We can survive without money.
Without it, with our own money. So I would, in fact, if you want to see a strengthening of the shilling, that is the way we would have gone. We would be very strong. We have been made debt dependent by people who are making money out of that debt. It's nothing to do with you and I. We have been made slaves, and we are being enslaved. There's nothing else here. It has nothing to do with our benefit. We don't need it. Kenya is a very strong country. We don't have a revenue problem. Our problem is fraud. Fraud continually being perpetuated here. And it is clear. It is fraud right up to even our school children. How do you have a result at KCPE, right? That brings out saying out of every 9 children that are sitting, 7 are failures. 7 are failures. Below C and below. That after 4 years, all those kids, almost 700,000 of the 900,000 are failures. Are failures. What are you saying? That they are dumb? That they are not getting proper education? What are you saying? On top of that, you even go to say 50,000 of them. Look how painful this is. Got 0. Really? They didn't attend school? That somebody has got capacity to earn 0 in all subjects.
Or they didn't, or they didn't sit the exam.
No, there is those who didn't sit. These ones sat. And they got E, which is 0. No, really. You know, how do you believe that is possible? Really? No, what are you advertising to the world? That is the capacity of Kenya. No, this is deliberate. This is intentional. And it is tragic. It is a fraud even in itself. It cannot be. It cannot be.
You know, Jimmy, the thing that I often find disturbing and concerning whenever we have this discussion is just one simple thing, and that is this. I've had people talk. I've had people ask questions about these discussions we've had.
Yes.
But the thing that concerns me is it appears what we're discussing here and the rot that we keep talking about is so deeply ingrained in our people that it's like people have resigned to it. It's like this thing, which is monstrous, is what people have gone and said it is okay. So if that's the way it is, then it is okay. I'm saying this because every time I'm in some discussion with some people over this matter, and they say they like the show, they like what they've heard being said, at the end of it, there is a resignation. Now, this only happens when you have been conditioned over a long period of time to a point where what you consider consistent in your reality is a state of helplessness and hopelessness, where you feel, okay, sir, we've heard, but anyway, this is this is where we are. And part of the reason is because even as we feel pain, the thing that we were not called the most hopeful people on the planet, I'm paraphrasing here in 2002 for nothing, we roll over and find solutions. Something really terrible happens, we roll over. And that process of rolling over seems to have, it dulls our senses. With every rolling over, it dulls our senses.
Yes.
My question, do you think that the pain that you've been forecasting with regards to what a default would bring about, do you think it's a sort of shock that would wake people up into realizing the harm that has actually been done?
Yes, because this will be an extraordinary situation. It's not normal. And let me address where you're coming from. And I think it's important that we appreciate what you're saying. You see, there are different political governance models. And the one that has been sustained in Kenya has been the following. You have 60% that there's been a conscious effort to keep them thinking about food. Their stomachs. Simply just filling their stomachs and that of their families. And the only aspiration they have beyond that is to see their child coming out of their situation. So the little money they earn outside of feeding themselves is to see their child and pray that the dream of their child is to live a better life than they have lived. Then you have the 30% who are described as the middle class. CT, like yourself here.
Jimmy, I consider myself to be a poor person. When did I become middle class?
No, yes, because you have a salary, you have a good salary that somebody that Zakayo can come and take a bit of. Okay, you have a situation here where that 30% is made so dependent on a particular lifestyle, whether it's a salary, whether it is loans, a mortgage for their car, this and this, that in order to maintain their kids in school, they are dependent so much on their current earnings that they will never risk. They do not want to risk, even applying not only their mind, their voice, to situations that may change the status quo. So they are very late comers to decision making. Then you have the ruling class. And the ruling class, that 10%, is fairly comfortable with the way things are. After all, this has been designed for their benefit. In a sense, what William and the KK crew were trying to talk about, bottoms up and dynasty versus hustler versus dynasty and so on and so forth, was predicated on this. The unfortunate thing is that in the practice of the last 15 months of his regime, right, the bottom are suffering more than the ruling class. The bottom are being squeezed, right, to oblivion. The middle class are now joining the bottom. Okay, right? And yet the language is, nyinyi ambao muna earn salaries, you are so selfish, you don't want to support those who don't have houses. So now it is what? Socialism? Is it socialism?
That's what it is.
Even socialism runs out of money.
You all come together.
There's no socialism that has not run out of money. So we have a situation here where you have a very confused leadership. It doesn't quite know which way it's going, what its policy is, what its vision is. All right? Now, you tell me who rises up in this occasion and when. It takes you saying, you know, even to go to work, all right? Even to put food on my table as a middle class, I don't have it. I don't have it. So I'm going to hit the streets. Right? And that is what happens. It becomes unbearable. It becomes unbearable. This pain that is coming will be the greatest trigger, because this one will not only affect the middle class or the 60%, it will affect even the ruling elite. It will affect them. This one does not escape anybody. And that's where you start asking yourself, I'm sorry, it is a state of bankruptcy. If your manager in your company took you to bankruptcy, you would not keep him to help you recover out of it. And that is where we are headed. We will not keep a leadership that is bankrupting us. We do not have faith they will be able to take us out of it. That is as clear as it is. And I can assure you, you and I will be on those streets. You and I. And the people that are expecting that they will be protected by certain people, those same people who will be on those streets. Because this will affect even them.
Let's take a break, Jimmy. After this break, so give us the options then, right?
Yes.
So what are our options? 28 minutes to 9. Jimmy Wenjegi with us in the studio. We'll be back shortly. First, let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Is safety your top priority when traveling in a taxi? Look no further. Introducing the Mara Moja Taxi app, the safest and most convenient way to get around town. Whether you're headed to work, a night out, or just running errands, Mara Moja Taxi app has you covered. With Mara Moja Taxi app, every time you top up your wallet, you get 50% more. What are you waiting for? Download the Mara Moja Taxi app and use the code SPICE30 to get 30% discount on your next ride. Ride smart with Mara Moja Taxi app. Mara Moja ni yetu.
Hii back to school shopping week. Katika to 100% real deal at over 100 Naivas Kiloko.
Northern Kenya tumewasha kama jua na hapa Mount Kenya tulipanda bei zikashuka Malindi ni kwetu, Bamburi ni
pata chaguo letu,
Ngoma ni kwetu, tunazitoka kikwetu.
Bamba back to school discounts kwetu.
It's been pretty busy, and now starting to look just a little bit better on James Gishuru coming in through towards Waiyaki Way. And if we take a look at what's coming off the Thika Superhighway, not as sticky as it was before, just at that Pangani underpass is where the last of it is. Kiambu Road also, that has come to an end, more or less. Let's take a quick look at what's happening on Landis, and that's not letting up. Heavy traffic, and it's inbound. It's now spilling over towards Lusaka Road and Jogo Road, out towards Kamkunji at the roundabout, reducing significantly on Haile Selassie. But Landis is still pretty busy right about now. Okay, an eye on things through the day, through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues. Jimmy Wenjeke is our guest. So, Jimmy, you're saying the way things have been going, they're just going to get worse.
Absolutely. And Eric, you know, debt default is not something that is a choice. You don't decide, okay, I'm not going to default. It comes. Because you can't pay. All right? You reach a situation where
circumstances will force you to get into default.
Yes. When, for example, and it's coming very soon, you're unable to pay armed forces because you have to pay a debt, what would you choose?
You pay your armed forces.
Correct. Correct. So, this is where we are arriving at. So, let me say this, because we are where we are. And I am prepared to be magnanimous. This government, before that day arrives, should declare a national crisis of debt. Should openly have a discussion about what we are going to do with this humongous debt. And I can tell you, if they open up to some of the bright minds we have in this country, I'm not saying I want to be there. I don't have to be there. It's got nothing to do with Jimmy. There are very many bright Kenyans. You open up a discussion, there may be a way out of what is coming as an impending crisis to each and every one of us. But they must admit, wameshindwa. All right? You know, don't live in denial. It's the worst position to be in when you're in leadership. Don't try and kick the can. There's no more road left. Okay? Say categorically, hapa tuko na shida. Let us tell the country with how deep this problem is. And how the possibilities, whether we go default, whether we do this, how it will affect each and every one of our lives. And let us then take a collective decision on the way forward. That is the last chance they have got, I can tell you. Because this pain we keep experiencing with more and more tax, with the downfall of our businesses, with the redundancies now being declared at rates that have never been seen before. All right? with high interest rates, and people now on the brink of being declared bankrupt, right? With a high cost of living that they cannot stop. The fall of the shilling, no matter how they speak, today it's 160 plus, right? The G2G, I can tell you, is one of the biggest nightmares this government has got, because they are forcing KCB to absorb the exchange rate. KCB may be the one that leads us into problems. The more we are talking here, and I will advertise to every Kenyan who is holding a bond, get out of it. I'll tell you here, and I know in the secondary market you can't sell it. Get out of it. That is no longer an asset. It is a liability. There's a funny headline I saw in the Business Daily today, that people with cash have made cream out of high interest rates. Which cream? Which cream? Even if you have been given 16% or 15%, your currency has depreciated by 28%. You have an inflation rate of 7%. You are negative 19, even with those figures. CT, I'm not asking you to do the sample.
Don't worry.
I think that one I'm doing quick in my brain. You're negative 19. Which cream are you making? As long as you are holding on to the shilling, we are losing value every day. So unless we have a clear discussion, unless this government declares a crisis of this problem, it will hit them and we'll have no patience. We will not listen. And already, this government is suffering a credibility deficit.
So what would arise?
Huge.
What would arise if, because this is what we're talking about, the responsibility lays squarely on the shoulders of the executive.
Yes.
And we say, look, call Kenyans kind of like a mommy-daddy moment to the family and say, look, this is it and this is how bad it is. What would potentially arise from that? And are we saying that Kenyans would then now give their views about what we do? Are we having that, are Kenyans and the executive going to have that moment where you say, okay, so what do we do to get out of this thing?
Yes.
What would arise from having that candid, open conversation
when you are told
this is the truth of the matter?
Very good question. When you are told the truth, so you are getting away from the, let me say, white lies of it's all under control. Okay? Right? That you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
You are told the truth. And we are told we've got to face this truth. You'll be amazed at the amount of ideas that come out of people to solve that problem. And if you have a working template, they may not be that confident that this government can implement it. So people want maybe some other body to do it. Right? But if you have a working template that has got particular milestones to solve this problem, we may get somewhere. In other words, the pain may not go as deep and last as long as some of us are anticipating.
But there'll still be consequences.
There will be consequences because they've waited too long.
But the
too long.
But the situation, it will be managed.
Yes. It will not be as dire.
Yes. We will be able to avert certain adverse consequences.
Yes.
So they need not be very adverse or extremely adverse.
Yes.
They'll be adverse enough, but not the extremity.
Not the extremities.
Yes.
What will be the political consequences?
Well, that is the risk one takes. And the consequences may be not very good for the regime. Yes, that's a risk. But I can assure you it's a better risk than that default and the dire consequences. Because then I can show you it's a zero-sum game here.
You see, when you take...
It's a zero-sum game.
When you have a say on the processes of change, you have a say.
You're on the table. You're in the room. You're on the table.
You have wiggling room, and you can have your say.
You're in control.
Yes, but if a calamity befalls us and people respond, who is in control now?
It's the people.
You actually lose that control because now, essentially, you're in free fall.
Correct. Very well put, City.
Outside of that, what is the other option? Because from one extreme is then you get to that very bad situation where there's an uprising. Right? And an uprisings don't end up well, mostly. They'll be hijacked at some point by some interested parties and they control. We've seen all these uprisings in all these countries. You end up with the people who are suffering continue suffering while you've just changed the people at the helm. So that's the other extreme.
You see here.
What's the middle ground? What's the in-between?
I'm not as negative as you are about that so-called uprising. You see here, there is a direct purpose, right? The one thing that Kenyans are understanding that they probably did not understand even 10 years ago is numbers and the economy. This is the topic. We are prevalent. We are clear about even what the problem is. Even where maybe people ignored us when we screamed it, now it's obvious what the problem is. Now, it would have to have some clear milestones, no matter what change of leadership or whatever joint leadership or formation or committee, whatever. It has to have milestones with a time period, right? And if our lives are not changing, you will see again change. These are extraordinary times for this nation. And I can tell you, we are so capable of rising up to it. We rose up to it for multipartyism. We rose up to it for the independence of this nation. To tell you the truth, out of the 500 million people that the colonizer had colonized, the British, we are the only people that had an armed struggle. All right? We had a constitution, a new one, in peacetime. We came out of our terrible 2007 violence. Kenya is a country of firsts. You'll be amazed what we can do. That's why we are such a pillar on this continent. And I'm very positive about the people of Kenya, about us. Because really, we live up to the adage. You know, Kwame Nkrumah used to say that I am African, not because I'm born in Africa, but because Africa is born in me. I think Kenyans are showing more and more. We are Kenya not because we are born in Kenya, but because Kenya is born in us.
What you've described, Jim, is what I'm describing as the in-between, right? That in-between where there is some clear leadership and a clear goal towards something. So we're saying that this is what is wrong and this is what would lead us to the right thing. And before it tips over, before we just jump over the precipice, we have a governed system of getting things right.
Yes.
The extreme is the other one, where people just take up arms and they're fighting. Everybody will be fighting over something.
Destroying things
but
is
not
exactly more likely.
Everybody will be fighting over the same thing.
Correct.
Right? And that's the extreme, the anarchy.
Correct.
So this in-between one requires leadership.
Correct.
So where is that?
That's why we are all talking. That's why we are all talking.
Eric, you've articulated this thing very beautifully. Really well. You see, consider for a moment, I am looking at the concept of lost opportunities or opportunities that can be taken advantage of. All right? I like to argue sometimes when I'm being philosophical, perhaps leftistly so, and I look at a missed opportunity after 2002 when Raila had wanted to be prime minister and some individual decided that prime ministership he can go sing to the birds before he got it. And I have looked at the consequences of what happened.
Correct.
There was a beautiful opportunity there.
Yes.
It went south.
Squandered.
So we're saying we have a calamity here that has a silver lining.
Yes.
An opportunity where something difficult, really difficult, a decision that can be made to avert and to turn things around, but it has presented itself.
Yes, it has.
Amidst this tumultuous situation that we're discussing, there is an opportunity.
Correct.
You ask about the leadership. I think the leadership question is answered when you look at those who will rise up to the occasion and understand that this is not a call for chaos and this is not a call for revolution in the violent sense of the word.
It is not.
This is a call for when leadership stands up and says, folks, let's ensure that this is the path we follow and let's push towards this path.
CT, you've articulated it very well. Very well. That is the moment we are in. And I can assure you, we are going to close ranks on this. Leadership here is going to close ranks. Now. Not tomorrow. Now. It's going to happen now. We are closing ranks. All of us. Because we can see this opportunity, we can see the crisis. Our problem, as we are not in government, is that you have a government that is deaf. It's deaf. A government that is still in denial. A government that is lying to its people. about this crisis. And they need to take a step back and embrace this moment before it engulfs them.
Jimmy, when you say government, yesterday we were given a little snippet of a little reality of that term and the interpretation and understanding of it. And
state versus government.
State versus government. Yes. And government comprising of the three arms. Otherwise, it's not government.
Yes.
We have an executive that fits that bill perfectly.
Yes.
We have a parliament that also fits that bill perfectly. We have a judiciary that is...
Somehow also, I gave you the example.
Yeah. We have a judiciary that...
And everybody is talking against the judiciary.
No, I thought against.
Those
I am
on one
simply.
side,
You're saying that they are like this.
Yes.
As prescribed, they are.
Yes.
The third arm of government.
Yes.
I almost hear you saying that
they're also
looked down upon by the other two.
Yes, well, they are bad mouths. That's the simplest way of putting it. And they're bad mouths because they make decisions that seem unpopular with those in power. But I am encouraged when I see certain decisions being made. And when you hear the consequences of those who have made those decisions, it tells you they're making the right decisions. Because someone somewhere has felt that heat. Now, this is how change comes about. Change isn't momentous. It isn't a deluge of water that's rushing at you. It's a drop at a time. But the change is actually happening. So the judiciary, much as we've been told, it was the bottleneck. In the Uhuru government, we had the bottleneck to change. I guess it was a bottleneck to the change he wanted.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
And there are signs. Unfortunately, I cannot in good conscience say the judiciary. No. Because we have the magistracy, we have the High Court, we have the Court of Appeal, and they
have challenges here.
Thank you very much, Jimmy, for halting the train, because where I was going, sounds like
you want to call it the savior, and I'm sorry.
No,
we have challenges.
The judiciary is making all sides uncomfortable with the decisions it's making.
Yes, it is.
Jimmy is uncomfortable with the decisions that the judiciary is making.
Yes.
Ruto is uncomfortable with the decisions that the judiciary is making. To me, the judiciary is in a good place.
It's a blue-eyed boy.
I was actually... yes.
So my question in this here is, what's the role of the people? And, far be it from me to have a conversation like this without the word revolution jumping in at some point. And if you look at the revolutions that have been successful, if you want to use that adjective, it was one person or a group of people, really not more than 50 at a time, maybe in some cases 20, maybe in some cases 5, who were so dissatisfied with the status quo that they said, we will not do this anymore. In Chile, it was a man who said, I will not pay these high fares anymore. Bring the whole thing to the ground. In Egypt, in Lebanon, it was...
In Tunisia.
In France, it was, we will not pay this money for bread. It was...
Sudan.
Absolutely.
Women.
It was one thing, because we want to think about it, but this colossal thing that armies of people were moving into cities. No, it was not. It was usually one person or a small group of people who said, it is enough. But what got them to the enough was that the situation actually became so bad. In Kenya today, I see a lot of the comments that are coming up here, and people are saying, you know what, maybe it's not so bad. Why are we being so pessimistic? Why are we saying that? Why are we being so negative? Why are we talking about this thing as though, we're going to open our eyes in the next 1 hour and Kenya will be in pitch darkness? It's not there yet. It's not so bad.
What is not so bad?
The situation.
Economic situation.
So my question is, Jimmy, this is the question. What then would happen, and I think I asked it earlier on, that would get Kenya to the point, on some, to the point where the realization then dawns and says, you know what, this is enough. And we then cannot. You're not going to wait for the Messiah to come in the form of another president or the current one, but Kenyans to say, look, it is enough. And I say that war moment has not yet occurred for that shift to take place. And that's why we have the people who say, well, Jimmy, you're being alarmist and you're being too pessimistic, you're being too negative. that wall moment, nose to the wall moment, has not happened yet.
You've articulated what we were saying earlier. Gave you the structure of Kenya. The 60% who are just worrying about food. Food. That even if their child doesn't go to school, it's okay. It's another hand to get food. This is a middle class problem. The middle class are where this is going to come from. They need to appreciate that they have no more hope. Those who are saying it's not so bad have still hanging on to a modicum of some hope. They are refusing to accept the reality of their situation. If they are going to read the Business Daily headline, they believe that is the greatest news. If I just had a little cash, I'd be earning huge interest rates. They don't do the numbers. That they are naturally a lost situation. Every day they are losing. And it will get to a point, and I can tell you, those who may be writing, I have at least over the last 1 year tried to circulate very quietly to very many places. And what I found were very angry people, very broke people, very broke, very angry, okay? And people without hope. You know, the worst thing is when you take away hope. So those who are saying that, maybe they are frightened by what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be an alarmist. I'm trying to be very real. I'm not trying to scarecrow.
You're not to be a scaremonger.
No. You know, as I was saying earlier in relation to what the government should be doing is telling the truth. When you say the truth, then you look at how to solve the problem. The greatest thing is that we are not having honest discussions about our challenges. If we articulate the truth, we will find a way out. So I can tell you, what is not hurting them today, wait until default. So you're saying default, we'll be like Ghanaians saying it's okay. We just continue suffering. We can't move. There are many people I met who said this is even a worse time than the time of COVID. That's how they feel. Right? They cannot make ends meet. So I want to assure you, just like many people used to say this during the time of multipartyism, we lived through this. That the ones who are clamoring for it are rabble-rousers. They are trying to destroy Kenya. We have peace, love, and unity, and we are proceeding. What is the big deal? They should be jailed. Do you know there were many people who screamed that? I remember Mwai Kibaki saying those who are screaming is trying to cut a mugumo tree with a razor blade. They are going nowhere. Multipartyism came. People who never saw the end of Moi, we saw it with our eyes like this. All right? So even this is going to happen. The amazing thing, because I can tell you I've been through at least that transition. I went through the transition of Kibaki, from Moi to Kibaki, from Kibaki to Uhuru, and now we've seen Uhuru to Ruto. The one thing I can tell you is that when Kibaki got in, he had goodwill of about 2 years. The people gave him the benefit of doubt and so on and so forth. There was a good feeling. No, let's be hopeful. Okay? And then it broke in 2005 and that was downhill. Even though the economy was doing very well. Uhuru had a lot of goodwill. Younger generation, new constitution. He was suave. They were running the show. By the time we got to 2017, in fact 2015, the stones were flying. This regime has had the shortest honeymoon I've ever seen. Within 1 year, the stones were flying. So I want to tell you something. For those who are in denial, because I think those who are saying things are, those are the very few. I can tell you here now, the honeymoon is over, right? The time is nigh, and they shall see it from the people of Kenya. It is coming. And I can tell you, because it's coming very soon, this default. The pain of it, when they come for your money in your account, because you are privileged to have an account. For those who have M-Pesa, when they start seeing their money going, when life becomes very difficult in terms of just basic movement, I think you will see a different Kenya. And that Kenyan is here in Nairobi. Don't look for them anywhere else.
So, if the leadership is not doing what needs to be done, what can the citizens do that will then, because the pain is coming to the citizen. What can the citizen do? And there's something that you said that got me a bit concerned when you said, that the leadership is. What term did you use?
Not listening.
No. The ones that are now coming together. That
yes. They are converging.
Because there's some convergence of thought.
Yes.
The convergence of thought that you're talking about, it could be of people who are fresh in thinking, those who have not participated in getting us to where we are.
Correct.
And those who have participated in getting us where we are. Now, those that have participated, I'm worried about.
Mm-hmm.
Because are they really interested in getting a solution?
You see, the consequence for them not finding a solution are also very great. As CT said, it's better to be in the room to try and manage than be outside facing an avalanche of problems. What we are not going to do is compromise about the future of this country. And the way we compromise is by saying, forget the past. Just let us find a way of forgetting about it. Allow impunity to have gotten away with it, and we move on. There must be an accountability and responsibility for why we are here as Kenyans. That must be there. So that it informs us, Eric, you one day may want to be president of Kenya. You must know your boundaries. In the UK the other day, you had a prime minister who quit because during the time of COVID, he was having a party. Okay, that's it.
A party. He didn't harm anyone.
But he was breaking the rules and the norms. All right? And it was intolerable.
He was setting a bad example.
A bad example. That is how we should be. We are 60 years since independence. What are we debating here? Right? What kind of society have we become? What kind of country have we become?
So what can we citizens do? All right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at that from short of becoming another Dedan Kimathi and the likes and going into the forest with handmade guns, right? Because I said that is the absolute extreme for which I'm not prepared. What else can the citizens of this country do to make sure that we are shepherding this country towards the right direction?
The first thing, I don't know whether you're talking about that now or in the future.
Now.
Right now, I will call for civic action. And civic action is not just civic action on the streets of Kenya. It is actions in the corridors of power. It is actions in the courts of power. It is continual action. So the president saying that, even if the courts say they are not going to, this housing levy is not going to be there, he's still going to collect. How are you going to collect? It's an illegal tax. We must start saying we are not going to pay certain things anymore. And that discussion, Eric, let us wait for another month, 1 month, I'll come here. Let me not speak too much, because we have a lot in our minds and a lot that we are discussing about what that action will entail. What is revolutionary for this country? Hopefully, it will not have bloodshed. But I can assure you, there will be some pain. There may be pain to some of us individually. All right? But we are prepared to stand up and say, we cannot continue living like this. And just like people who have fought for this country before, from the time of Mau Mau to the time of Second Liberation, we are prepared to stand again and say, this cannot continue 60 years after independence.
So what would that mean for us? You see, just like the examples you've given, all right? When the Mau Mau were up in the bush, they were saying, we want to get our freedom back. We want to get our land back. We want to get our rights to move as we wish.
It means
when they were pushing for the second liberation, they were saying we want to return to multi-party democracy.
Yes.
We want to have choice of leaders, right?
Yes.
So this time, without just telling people like, go out to the street and let the people see you out in the streets.
it means the greatest freedom of all, which is economic liberation.
So what?
Financial freedom is the greatest freedom on earth. It gives you the greatest independence. And right now, what we have is slavery. It is the one that is taking away all our rights, all our hopes, all our possibilities, all our aspirations. It is called economic liberation. That economic liberation means that you will earn your sweat. You benefit from your sweat. You will grow from your sweat. And it will not be taken away from you. You will not be disenfranchised. You will not be working like a slave. It is the greatest liberation. And that is the one that has eluded us for 60 years because we have been through other liberations. This now is the last one. And this one will be earth-changing. It means then that our goals for what you call middle income, our goals for a rich nation are then possible. Our goals where no Kenyan is ever worrying about food are possible. Where no Kenyan is ever worrying about a job are possible. Where we have a country here, right, that is like any other first world country in the world, that is possible. This is the pain that we have to go through.
Jimmy, thank you for joining us today.
Asante sana.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you all.
Hope next time we invite you, we'll not be coming here to talk about no pesa yangu imeenda.
Asante sana.
Kuna pesa kwa account na imeenda. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. The Situation Room will be back tomorrow morning, God willing. It's now 10 a.m. Have a lovely day.
Asanteni sana.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.